I see dead people.
Hot shit.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Fuck you too.
Okay. Start the episode. Why we know how.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Gin. Grab the bottle. Grab the bottle real quick.
I got it right here. There it is.
Nice oaky, smoky finish. Describe what we are drinking today.
We're drinking the Macallan Highland Single Malt Scotch Whiskey, 12 years old, from a sherry oak cask that my good friend Captain Death here provided me on my date of birth. That's wonderful. It's very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, of course. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Again, you have a fun, spooky birthday.
I sure do.
I obviously am here, of course, with Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
And I love, not only are we drinking the Macallan out of some nice glasses, but it's what the glasses rest on that needs to be said the most, which is our lovely guest ordered what are these called again? Coasters.
Coasters, yeah.
These are coasters with his character face on them.
Yeah. One of my favorite purchases.
In a pattern, and they're nice.
They are nice. They're good. They're good quality.
They don't look like the type that your cup would get stuck on.
Definitely not.
Is that fair?
Unless you get some sticky drink that's, but no. In general, no. This isn't going to stick to it. This is a nice...
Like, what is it, Isn't it just regular cork that most people, or like paper or some type of product gets stuck on? People always talk about sticky coasters.
Yeah.
When your cup starts to, what's the word,
The condensation.
Condensation.
I said it weird, but you knew what I meant. Yeah, no, it's definitely cork, but they put some sort of like laminate thing on top of it, and it's beautiful.
It's nice.
It's good work.
It is good work. It is good work. Thank you. You're welcome for the work that I did. I did not make them. I simply designed a funny-looking cheeseburger man, and they did all the work, but I will take all the credit for it.
Listen, it's the design.
As I feel like Kitty would say immediately, go to the merch, buy the merch,
definitely
consume the merch. Shout out to redbubble.com, El Capitan Muerte. Yeah, he also has, I want to say, like a 6-inch magnet of his face, which is also beautiful.
Oh, it's the whole crew right below it, too.
Oh, yes, you have the logo as well. Yes.
Yeah, love it.
Yes, very good.
Love it.
And he did it all without asking for a discount from me.
Nope.
He should have taken.
No, I shouldn't have.
Because it would have saved you probably $20 to $30.
It's fine. Happy to spend it, happy to have it. Happy to be here. Just happy.
What did you think of your first episode? I think your first episode's fucking awesome.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
Reading King with you was like a treat.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It was fun. I mean, I had a blast. I've like, as you know, as we've talked about many times, I've listened. I'm up to episode 254, so I'm a fan of the podcast.
You're catching up.
I'm getting there. I'm almost there. I'm going to be sad when I have to wait for the next episode to come out.
We've been doing bi-weeklies. That's probably going to kill you.
Yeah, it is going to kill me. It's fine. No, but it's I'm a fan of the show first, so just getting to be here, getting to do that episode was super cool. Getting to read my favorite author.
You did get to experience the basement while the basement existed.
I did.
Which is fun. You're the last guest I plan on having on this show. Like, you're the last new entry. I'm sure I'll have you on for like some movie talk with Mr. Rooster at some point in the future. Like, I can't let a year go by without hanging out with him and making him record with me, because he treats it like a therapy session. He lays down on the couch with his head at one end and his feet off the other, and I just put a mic in his face and I go, "So tell me, Mark, what did you think of this movie this year?" And he goes, "I don't know."
That was a good impersonation. You sounded like
it was okay, I guess. It was just fine.
Yeah, that's a good
I don't mean to make him sound casually disinterested, but he is.
Yeah, that's just how he is.
Casually disinterested. And he wouldn't be offended to hear that. He'd go, yeah, if I were to say that to him, which is fine. But no, I feel like it's not like me thinking about the end of this show, and I've talked about it on episodes already at this point. It's just like, is the show ending for good? No. Like, I don't think I'd ever be able to hang my skeleton coat up at any point because there's still so much I want to do and talk about, and like I just think the YouTube moving forward is probably going to be the best place to find us. And I'm not saying that to like garner clicks or subscriptions or anything. It's just I know we have more subscribers everywhere else. So while I have the platform and the wherewithal to say like, hey, we're probably only releasing episodes for like another year, fucking count yourself down. I want to say try to get over there because you're probably already missing content if you haven't been there.
Yeah.
Because we have like so many Let's Plays.
Yeah.
But also just like as we move forward, any downtime that I get right now, I'm going to start releasing stuff that I've been recording on my Twitch streams.
Cool.
So like any game or talk or there's even a couple Twitches where me and Glitch like watched a bunch of horror short films and we did like commentary and talked about which ones were our favorites and stuff.
That's cool.
Like I'm gonna start releasing those with like credits at different points, and they're not gonna be like official episodes. They're just gonna be their own playlist on YouTube. Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap everything up so that if and when I want to come back to it in any way, in any form, I'll be able to say, this is what I feel like doing right now. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to release. And I'm going to do that.
Well, that's cool, because that's, once I've completed my, once I've caught up, then the YouTube's my next move to get caught up there. I've done nothing on your, to be honest, I've done nothing on your YouTube yet, so that's my next move.
The YouTube is interesting just because it's like, you funny boy, you just want to play. You just want to play.
Can I have that, Moose? Thank you.
Now he's gonna be sad.
He won't be sad. He'll be fine. Anyway, sorry about that.
When it comes to the YouTube, it's just like, do you need to watch everything we're doing? No. Right. And most of our people have probably even like played the games that we're playing there already. We did nothing concurrently. I'm not timely in how I do any of this. The assumption that I would do any of this per the like year that these things are being released is asinine. I'm playing a 20-year-old game, and I talk about it lovingly with a friend for 6 episodes as we play through the plot together, and like that's, you're getting an episode of the podcast with some visuals.
Well,
that's really all that's happening.
That's fine though. Listen.
You would out of all of the stuff that's on there, you would probably appreciate my playthrough of A Way Out.
Yeah.
With Deputy Dewey.
Yeah.
To give him a solid name drop, his recording ability from where he was playing was not very good, but our experience playing A Way Out together was so memorable. It's a game that's basically Shawshank Redemption. Like, you are working with a buddy to break out of jail, and then once you get out of jail, you're on the lam, like, together.
Yeah.
And there's like a story, and there's a plot, and there's things going on.
That's cool.
And you're just like, the first quarter of the game is just getting out of jail. Then the next quarter is being on the run. Then the next quarter is getting revenge on the person who put you there. And then the final act is just crazy suspense.
It's like Prison Break the game.
Yes, it is Prison Break the game. Very much so.
Well, see, as someone who doesn't get to play games anymore, like, it just, my life doesn't allow me to. That's interesting to me, because then I can vicariously live through you guys. Just watch all these games I didn't get to play.
I mean, that is why I think Let's Plays are a thing, though, right? Because it's saying these people who don't want to, or maybe don't have the ability to play these things or access these things.
Right.
For the longest time, I did not have a PC. Like, I could not play anything that was on a PC.
Right.
So in my head, it was just like, I'm going to watch these people play these things that I'm really interested in, because I physically do not have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't I don't feel like that's what I'm tapping into, but like when you say something like that, it's just like, oh, like no, I suppose you wouldn't have access to Dead Space on the Xbox 360.
No.
Or the time to go and dedicate to a series like that.
I mean, I'm as a lifelong PlayStation guy, anything that's Xbox exclusive, it's not.
I believe that was on all platforms.
Oh, okay.
But regardless,
like when I've listened to this podcast, I've heard you talk about this Alien game,
Isolation. Yes.
And is there a Let's Play of that up there?
No, because I would shit myself.
See, that makes me sad because that's what just hearing the way you've talked about it, both with terror and love, is like that's what I would want to see.
So when it came out, I was over at Gnarly Charlie's place, and I picked up the controller for one moment to play through. He was like 30 or 40% through the game, just to play it a little bit, and I like almost literally had a panic attack playing it.
Oh, wow.
Because the experience was so much like that first movie.
Right.
You really do feel alone, isolated on this ship, in this atmosphere where anything that moves, any noise that happens, anything that you're afraid to draw attention.
Right.
You know, lest the alien hear you and come for your ass immediately. And the AI that they made for this fucking game is so good, so like ahead of its time, that it was just like it would prowl like the same area and just it would know that that's where you're trying to go. And it wouldn't even be scripted to do that. It would come to that conclusion itself. It would be like, oh, I heard something over here, so he has to be here.
Right.
And then it would just hound that area looking for you. And it so feels like you're just being fucking hunted by this thing.
Yeah.
And I could not handle that. Because in that situation, in real life, I go, hey, Mr. Gun, and it goes into my mouth, and I pull the trigger.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that.
I come eye to eye, face to face with a xenomorph. I say, no.
No, thank you.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
it's one of the only like horror creations in the world where I take one look at it and I go, no thanks.
Yeah.
And I make the split time decision to off myself.
Yeah.
It's one of the only things where I would, because it's just like, oh, Texas Chainsaw I've been shitting on Texas Chainsaw Massacre pretty much all month.
Nice.
And
I'm not a huge fan either. So
no, you'll laugh at the last episode where I'm just like, frankly, that first movie is dog shit.
So many people disagree with you.
I don't give a flying.
I'm not
fuck.
one of them.
I don't give a flying fuck. That movie sucks.
Yeah.
Bubba does not terrify me.
No.
I would take a look at Bubba, laugh, and simply run away from him.
Right.
I do not care.
See,
it's like you have to be scarier than Guy with Chainsaw, and like if so many people draw the line at Guy with Chainsaw, then I'm already above that percentile. It's like the details have to be so specific for me that it quite literally has to be like Xenomorph. Like that is the line.
Yeah, my line is much shorter.
Okay.
As you know. You know this already. Like
I feel like I know, but I still want you to say it because it's gonna make for a good conversation for the podcast.
So I see a guy just on the street, Halloween time, dressed as Michael Myers, and I want to shit my pants.
Oh, okay.
So
does he have to sell it though?
Oh yeah, no, I need him to be still. Yeah. I need a head tilt. Yeah, if it's just some dude like you see these dumb videos where he's dancing around. It's not funny to me, or it's not scary to me. I mean, it's not funny to me either.
It's neither.
It's neither. But when my old neighborhood, when I was growing up, like teenager, there was a guy in the neighborhood every year. He would just dress up as Michael. It was very clearly a plastic butcher knife, and he'd just go stand on the corner.
See, that's great. That's ingenious.
And then he'd tilt the head. And then he'd come back, and then and then he would just like Michael in the movie, just disappear.
Just disappear.
Where is
behind
he?
the hedge.
And then you'd see him over here, and it's like, what?
Yeah, that would get me,
dude. Like that. Even I have a Michael Myers in front of my house every year. Somewhere in my Halloween display is Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And if I walk,
wasn't he in the corn this year?
he was.
Yeah, I saw him.
And I walk by that at night.
And it gets you a little
and
bit.
I take a little curve away. And I know it's just a mannequin.
There's a twinge where you're like, yeah, this hits me a little bit.
So if I ever, if I ever lived in a world where I had to confront the real Michael Myers, I'll grab a knife myself and just unsolve myself. I can't.
I got
like, it's terrifying.
I got real nutty watching Hell House LLC this year.
Yeah.
The first one.
Okay.
And it's just because I've been to the Waldorf. I talked about it. I've been to the Waldorf 3 times now.
Yeah.
And I was convinced I had seen that first movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I was convinced. I was having a conversation with Alley Cat. I was saying, I saw that movie. It wasn't very good, and I don't really understand any of the references to the house.
Yeah.
I watched the completely wrong movie. It was a completely different movie. I watched The Houses That October Built.
Don't know it.
Or The House That October... Fucking terrible. Don't watch it. It's terrible. It's awful. It doesn't make any sense. And it is handycam. It is, like, assholes with a handycam in the movie.
Yeah.
Which you'd think I would like that, because I love the VHS franchise.
Yeah.
But I didn't like this movie, and it was bad, and the characters sucked.
Wow.
So I sit down before going to the Waldorf this year, and I watch the first Hell House movie. Mm-hmm. That is a good fucking Halloween movie.
Okay,
man.
yeah, I've never seen that either.
And like after you watch that and you're like unnerved by it, you have to go to the house.
Yeah.
Like seasonally, like you have to go walk through that house.
I've been there once.
It is so much fun walking through there and being like, oh, that guy's dressed as the thing from the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one wall where this happens. They still have that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get to see all of it. And it's so cool just to be in that shit.
Yeah. That would be cool.
If I'm shitting on something this year, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if I'm giving anything props this year, it's Hell House.
All right.
And I had seen the sequel, I want to say the 4th one, about the Carmichael Manor.
Right. Because
it came out this year. In 2024, I mean. And I watched it and I liked it a lot. And I said, oh, this is a prequel, or it's supposed to be a prequel sequel type of thing to the Hell House series. And I hadn't known that going into it. Okay. So I said, Alley Cat just put it on. And I said, cool, I'll watch a horror movie with you. You want to watch a horror movie? Sure, we'll watch it.
Right.
And I liked it a lot. And I said, oh, this is essentially a prequel to the Hell House series, which I think it's now 4 movies. Okay. But I had heard 2 and 3 are just
Yeah.
But 1 and I liked 4 a lot, and I was told, no, you watched the wrong fucking movie. Go rewatch the first one.
Yeah.
And I did, and I liked it a lot.
Cool.
So shout out to that.
I have to check that out. You know what? My Halloween movie experiences this year were not great. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did a watch through of as many of the Halloween movies because that's just who I am. I even dipped my toe back into Rob Zombie.
I always think about it just to give it a chance, and then I like remember how much I disliked it when it came out.
It didn't get better in the 10 years it's been since I watched it.
I imagine something like that just gets worse over time.
But so the
like
two
a moldy sandwich.
The 2 specifically are the Speak No Evil. The Mecha Boy. Did you see it?
No, I liked the Danish, the original, too much, and I was told that they neutered the ending. They took the bite out of the ending for the American one.
Having never seen the Danish one,
I
thought the ending contained no bite. I agree.
Everyone
nothing
dies.
To compare with.
All the Americans die, and
nobody dies. Nobody dies in this one. I don't think. Maybe I don't. No, I don't think they did.
Don't they kill...
They're severely injured.
They kill the bad family and they get out?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
In the original, the bad family kills the parents, takes the kid, and makes it their new tongueless kid.
Right, which is what it's, that's what
setting up to be.
Yeah, that's what it's setting up to be, but no.
Yeah.
The
mistake, the going back for the bunny rabbit ends up being a life, altering event.
And that's exactly where it sounds like the movie just went the opposite direction.
I didn't see it. Alley Cat saw it, and then she told me that she found it funny, and I said, okay, never watching that.
Yeah, it's definitely not great. And while I think it's sort of ham-fisted and over the top, I do enjoy watching James McAvoy.
Oh, McAvoy is a wonderful
absolute
performer.
lunatic.
I'm not saying I'll never watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it wasn't a theater for me.
No, it was. We didn't see it. I watched it on video on demand, whatever you call it these days. Yeah. So I mean, that was the other one, and I'll tell you what movie I had a stupid amount of fun watching was Trap.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hate Trap as much as I thought I was going to. I watched it at home. I didn't see it in theater.
Yeah.
What I will say is, why to the singer getting so much screen time? Is it because it's
his daughter? I mean, that's the only reason why. And she wasn't great.
No, she really wasn't.
No, it was one of those. But I watched it with just like, if you ignore the highway-sized, the 6-lane highway plot holes that are in there.
Yeah.
And you just, this is what I'm, and I'm not good at this normally.
What about him being the luckiest serial killer of all time? What incompetent people surround this man at all corners?
I think they were trying to make it like he's so smart, but that's not how it comes across.
No, that's not how it comes across.
At all.
Everything that happens
so
to him
lucky.
is convenient.
Yeah.
He just goes up. Okay.
Yeah. But I had a good time watching it nevertheless. And I
didn't.
I enjoyed Josh Hartnett.
I thought it was just fine, and I love Josh Hartnett. Yeah. I fucking love that guy.
So that was the other one, and then of course I did because I know you and I wildly disagree on that. I did just watch Halloween Ends yesterday. And yeah.
And what you mean to say is I finally realized that movie's not very good.
And I love it. I love it so much. It's like, I would put it, if I'm ranking the Halloween films, I would probably put it like, stupid wall. I would probably put it like,
that wasn't
fourth.
The wall. That was the gods telling you that that Halloween Ends is
well, whatever.
a terrible film.
I disagree. I love it. It's probably my fourth favorite in the franchise. Like,
I don't want to get into it, but tell me what you like about it so much.
I like that it was a complete and utter out of left field curveball. Like, it wasn't your classic Michael Killen just walking through town on a rampage. I like the fact that in my opinion, it's what the first one should have been. They should have.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to like a movie.
I liked that it was something different from this franchise that was very stale.
Corey needed to be a character in the first one, and that was the only way this one would have been acceptable.
I agree. I agree that
if what happens in the first 15 minutes of that movie capped the first movie, this movie would have been great.
Yeah.
And then you have an entire second movie where it's about the girl and Corey both on opposite sides of the city trying to deal with the fallout of the Michael situation the same way. Then you go into Ends with Corey being a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
Then I'm on board.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's super rushed.
Holy shit, did they not think that entire thing out?
Well, I really loved 2018 when it first came out, and for a while.
I still do. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
I do too, but there's also a lot of the whole. It's a greatest hits movie. I mean, really, which is fine. Again, I walked out of that theater watching that just like.
But there's a difference between doing a greatest hits movie and shitting the bed.
Oh, you mean like Halloween Kills?
And then doing a greatest hits movie and like actually giving people what they want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a really good example.
I know. For me, it was just refreshing because I went into that after Halloween Kills. I couldn't hate that movie more.
Call me whatever you want, but I don't think a Halloween movie needs to be anything other than Michael killing some people.
Yeah.
I really don't care who the protagonist is or what the plot is, as long as it establishes that Michael is a boogeyman going around killing people.
Yeah.
Where you lose me is where you take from that character and bestow upon some glory for some asshole we've never seen before, and start nerfing the villain of the franchise just to befit the plot surrounding this guy.
I get it.
You hear me, you just don't care.
No,
it's not that I like this movie.
It's not that I don't care.
I know he could talk forever about how much he don't like this movie. I like this movie.
Well, what you're saying makes sense. I understand. And for me, I think it was just one of those things where That's why this is the first time I watched it since I saw it in theaters.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to touch it. Because I was afraid that I was going to, like, come to my senses, I guess. And while I didn't love it the way I did when I walked out of the theater, I still was like, after watching Halloween 5 and Halloween 6, and I'll never ever watch Resurrection again.
I mean, sure, but you're comparing movies that were made 20 to 30 years ago for a terrible reason.
Sure. I don't know. It was a breath of fresh air for me. And it still is. And justice for Corey.
I'm not saying there isn't any good aspect of it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying it's the worst movie. I'm just saying, as far as a Halloween movie, it did not hit the mark for me. I think the reasons it could have were so easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what actually makes me angry. It's like the same reason the Five Nights at Freddy movie makes me angry. It's just like you got so close to making this a bullseye.
Yeah.
To making this a really good movie that was like competent, firing on all cylinders, no questions asked. And then you almost purposefully just said, nah, and started doing these ridiculous things that don't make sense for any of the characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And it takes me out of it, man. It takes me out of it. And then I just start going, am I allowed to laugh now? Or am I going to get upset?
Yeah. And
for Freddy, I just started laughing at things. I was just like, people like this. And I'm not even shitting on that either. It's a fine movie. It's okay. Five Nights at Freddy's is beguiled by its own lore.
Yeah.
What I will say about Halloween, though, is its simplicity is what makes it great.
Well, that's what makes the first one.
And then you get to something like that, and it's just like, no, really, quite simply, tone it the fuck back. Take it the fuck back. Get rid of 15 pages of that script and stop drawing invisible lines that aren't there.
Yeah. I get it. I can't help it.
What if okay, let me pitch it to you this way, though,
okay,
because it's the only respectable way I can think about it.
Do it.
What if the next Friday the 13th movie was about some asshole showing up at Pamela's old house next to Crystal Lake, and Jason is sitting there, and whether or not he's undead or old or mystical or whatever, some asshole walks in, punches him in his face, takes his hockey mask, takes his machete, and says, "I'm Jason now," and then just leaves. And Jason says it's fine for 2 hours, and then in the last 15 minutes says it's not fine. Would you or would you not say that is the worst Friday the 13th movie you've ever seen?
Maybe. I mean,
because everyone else in the movie thinks it's Jason going around killing people.
Right.
And so you're seeing this asshole in a jumpsuit wearing the hockey mask killing people with a machete, and everyone goes, "Oh no, Jason's back," which is fine because we had Roy before.
Right. We did have.
So I'm not even trying to shit on the legacy as much.
Whose name I couldn't remember.
I'm just saying, if that was already given a go, would people shit on that as much? And I actually think less now the more I'm talking about it. But you understand the analogy all the same.
I understand. I mean, I could get into that. I think he only took the mask to go after Laurie, but took a side trip to kill all his bullies first. But
I was okay with that.
But I think he just
I'm okay with
got
most
the mask
of that.
because he wanted to kill Laurie, but he wanted her to be scared, forgetting who the fuck Laurie is.
Here's where you win me over.
Yeah.
Don't have him take the mask from Michael and go around pretending to be Michael.
Yeah.
Have him make his own fucking mask.
Sure.
And claim to be Michael.
Sure.
And channel it and go do his own thing.
Yeah.
It's when he becomes a capital P poser that I'm just like, who the fuck are you? Are you that kid with the fucking roller skate sneakers fucking zooming around the mall?
He is.
Sitting outside the Spencer's asking people to buy him cigarettes? Like, go fuck yourself.
I will tell you the one point that I do go, I don't understand is, I don't know how much of recollection you have of this, where he's killing the bullies, and his dad comes out, and he's standing there And he's not wearing the mask. He's holding it in his hand.
Yeah.
Why did you take... so Dad could recognize you? Like that... All right. That was a little like... I don't understand.
That is
Why did
but-
you take the mask off if you're wearing the mask?
That is just but one befuddling moment in a sea of things you've seemingly overlooked in your rewatch of this film.
I guess maybe
No,
it's
fine.
just no.
It's
Maybe it's just one of those things. Yeah. Maybe it's love is blinding me. Perhaps. That's
Because my analogy fell apart, I'm gonna go again.
Go.
What if?
Uh-huh.
No, that doesn't even work. I was gonna say, what if some asshole dug up Freddy's grave, took his claw hand and fucking fedora and sweater, and started appearing next to people's beds saying, "You're having a nightmare," and then stabbing them 18 times. But that doesn't... that would just be really funny, actually. That'd be hilarious. No, I can't think of another good analogy, and I don't want to give it to Leatherface. I don't want to say, let's go to Texas,
Well, 'cause we're shitting
have
on
some
him right
asshole
now.
to join the Sawyer family, because they'll take anyone.
They will.
Corey shows up in Texas, they're
like,
yeah,
"Brother,
fine.
come
You
on
okay
in."
eating people? And he goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
They let him in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
Nah, that's fine.
That's...
It's fine, I'm over it. I'll let it go.
Sorry to take you down this
Nah,
side path.
it's alright. I don't plan on rewatching it. I only saw it that once, and that was enough for me to be like, ah.
I will confess that I knew what I was doing, taking you down this
Yeah, you
side.
went into it. You accepted it. It's not like you...
I knew what you were going to say. I knew how you felt about
It's
it.
acceptable.
It was fun.
It's acceptable.
I just wanted to see you rant.
It's one of the more funnier things about this show is when I really get fired up on a tangent and I just have to talk about it for 20 minutes. No, let us both go down memory lane a little bit here, because the real reason I wanted to do this episode with you as fast as possible really was just because your child, whom we shall not name,
Right.
not because he doesn't deserve it, but because if he ever does listen to this, I want him to be offended that I don't want to talk about him. He turns 21 this year,
He did.
and to celebrate his birthday, we together went to Vegas. And I say we because I definitely joined along.
He did.
And it was because I had never been to Vegas, and there were lots of things there that I wanted to do. So when you said, hey, my kid's turning 21, he wants to celebrate in Vegas, I kind of jumped at the opportunity to invite myself.
Well, but he told me to invite you, so just so you know, you didn't just invite
you could
yourself.
say that.
No,
but,
he did, for real.
But as much as I know now and appreciate that, I'm gonna run with the narrative that I hijacked that fucking trip.
Sounds good. You did. You bastard.
I ran things by you guys, saying,
Sure did.
are you into this? Are you interested in this? And for a while there, you guys were like, I don't know, yes to like half of the stuff, but not to everything.
Right.
And then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I think I'm going to force them to do everything with me. And I could have waited. I could have just said, nah, I'll wait to go back in a couple years with the other people, and I'll get to do everything then. But at the very same time, I was just like, I kind of want to force them to do everything I want to do. And so that's the convenient thing about my job, is that I was able to do that. I was able to force them to do what I wanted to do on this trip. So it might not have been my 21st birthday, but it was, in a sense.
Well, in all fairness, he had no idea what he wanted to do. He just wanted to go. He didn't know what that encompassed. He didn't know anything.
But wouldn't it have been disappointing to get down there and be like, I don't know what I'm doing today, and I'm going to sit at a casino and lose my money?
Well, 100%. And that's why, like, even he said to me, like, shortly after we came back, he goes, thank God Captain Death did come and did plan all this, because I had no clue. And everything that I told him he should do or think about doing, he was just like, and to be clear, Meow Wolf was definitely on the list. We were doing that. So
that was
when you
always
brought
on the
that,
list.
that was always going to happen.
That was always on the list, but
But
there were other things we're going to talk about that I
for
brought
sure.
up.
But it was great. But the things that you brought up were all things that everybody who went was totally into, and were totally fell within all of our interests. And he did nothing but talk about that trip from the time we came home. So everything that you suggested or quote unquote forced us into, kudos, sir. Because you gave the kid had an amazing time and wouldn't change anything about his 21st birthday. So except for maybe his roommate sometimes. But
what's the like syndrome where you fall in love with your captor?
Stockholm
Yeah,
syndrome.
there you go.
Yeah, little Stockholm syndrome.
A little bit of Stockholm.
You got him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about, and I really just wanted to give. I wanted to talk for maybe like a half hour, possibly more, just to gush about a couple things, because it is worth gushing about, and I don't feel like there was an adequate amount of stuff online to support my feelings about any of it. Right. In fact, the kind of subjective nature of all of it is what enticed me so much, is like, I saw people across the internet saying, don't do some of those escape rooms.
I remember we talked about that, yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, maybe it's their expectations of what that was going to be that upset them. Because I was going into it, frankly, thinking nothing more than, if this is a Halloween Horror Nights house with a puzzle or two, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Because in my head, that is saying, look at all of the theming, look at all the stuff going on, look at everything, like quite literally look at everything.
Yeah.
But then we also have puzzles, to get us from point A to point B, to carry the narrative. It was so much more than that.
It really was.
It was so much more than that. And I can't help but look at the people who gave it negative reviews and just want to ask them personally, like, what did you think you were getting into here? Because every time it was as advertised. Yeah. Completely what I expected.
Well, I remember we were talking about the one time and you said to me, you were like, so from what I'm reading, it's far less escape room and far more just like experience, which cool. I mean, I'll walk through a quote unquote haunted house or all day long. But that was not what I experienced.
But holy shit, was it so much more an escape room?
Way more. It was so much more an escape room to the point where there were, let's be honest, there were some puzzles we didn't solve. The live actors were like, let's just usher you through to the next place.
We do need to spit it out.
Yeah,
I will say one name, JASON EGAN.
Yeah.
And it is his 4 escape rooms based off of horror films that exist in Las Vegas, Nevada, off the strip of Sin City itself.
Yeah.
All of them are within, both of the compounds are within 15 minutes.
Yep.
I want to say when you buy one of them, you get the next one at a discount, so you end up spending $45 to $50 on one of them, and then the next one they give to you for maybe $10 less if you pair it. And then, like, the It chapters 1 and 2, if you pair it, I think you save $10.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to add Saw, you got like 40% off, which drops that down to like 30.
Yeah.
And then if you did all 4 of them, you got like a 50% discount. Like, we ended up paying, I want to say, like $150 a person for all 4 of them.
Yeah, money well spent.
Money well spent. I'm glad you agree. Not that I thought you were going to disagree.
Oh no.
But just like, I just want to gush about our day.
Yeah.
I just want to run through it because holy shit, was that just.
It was amazing.
So much fun.
It was.
We had scheduled the Blair Witch, which is based off of the 2014, 2016 film. First. It was at like 2:30 in the afternoon. And we pull up to a facility with a huge gate, and there's like no one there, and it's creepy, and you could see a a Burkittsville, Maryland, like wooden sign next to an old guard post. So like already their theming like outside was already like you've entered somewhere else.
Absolutely.
You were just outside on the strip. Now you are somewhere else.
Nope.
And they brought us into a room and we watched an intro video with 2 other people. It was a group of 6, so it was the 4 of us plus 2 randos.
Yeah.
And as the introductory video played, I found myself like looking around the room going like, oh, this is it. Like, is this the room that we're going to have to get out of? Like, this is not just a sequence.
Nope.
I was looking at the things on the wall, the things in the cases. You know, I was looking at the other doors, the windows. I was like, no, this is about to go off.
Yeah.
And you're in an old, like, park ranger guard post that you would see, like, in the middle of the woods. I don't go outside, so I don't know what they actually look like. But
it was well done.
The idea is that
set decoration was
there
great.
were 3 rooms in this first part, and I didn't have expectations outside of maybe like 5 rooms, and we'll get into why that was wrong.
Right.
But you're walking around the room, you're solving puzzles. It feels like a traditional escape room.
It does.
But there was this like creeping level of anxiety.
100%.
Like the minute those lights cut out and they made you grab the flashlights and you heard like a noise, like a howl or a scream or something.
The radio would kick, like people would be talking over the radio.
Walkie-talkies and stuff. The moment that thematic dime dropped, I was like sold.
100%. And just go, I said it just a second ago, but like the set decoration of these rooms was so good and such good quality, and the way they tied the puzzles in, the stuff you had to find, it was like, it wasn't like easy stuff, you know what I mean? You
I'm
really
so
had
used to escape rooms just being like, you're in this one room and there are various things you can look at and it's all going to lead to the same conclusion. And this was one room where when you figured it out, you got into a side room that still tied back to the main room. That you then, the power went out, so we had to restart the generator. But to get into the generator room, we had to open the lock. To open the lock, you had to figure out the room you were in. But even in that room, you were going to find yourself going in and out to figure out the generator.
Right.
Once you figured out the generator and you got back into the main room, it was then about finding out to get into the like manager's office, like the office space, not just the welcome center.
Yep.
And once you get back into the office space, there are all these files and desks and phones, and it's just like you're trying to put together like the missing cases for the people who went into the woods, Burkittsville, like in the plot of Blair Witch. And I just remember being like enraptured in that. Yeah. And just asking myself, where else can this go? Yeah. And holy shit, did it go.
Yeah, it was very easy to get submersed in the experience and almost forget like that you were doing a traditional escape room. At least that was my experience. Like it was just like,
I agree.
I mean, it sounds cheesy and corny, but like you're kind of in a movie based in this world. Like you're really experiencing these things.
That becomes a lot more evident.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
After we got, so we solve our way out of the park station. And when we opened that door and I saw like trees, I was like, oh, it's happening. Yeah. We're there. And it was a small room. I had hoped it to be a little bit bigger to really sell the fact that you're just lost in these trees. But they work with the space they got, and I still liked what they had to work with. But they have a little room where it's just full of trees and leaves and dirt, and a broken down tent. Yeah. And to the left, the entry door under an awning is the house from the movies, and it has the same type of woodwork, the same type of design, and the same type of ominousness. And they're pumping fog and lighting effects into this room. It makes you, they're pumping air. There's fans.
It smelled like you were in the woods.
It smelled like you were in the woods. It felt like you were in the woods.
Yeah, it was
and this
crazy.
Dude comes running out, and he's just like, "You gotta help me!" And he's covered in dirt, and he's screaming, and he's like, "You gotta help me! Me and my girlfriend, we've been stuck out here." And I just like off the hand, I was like, "How long have you been out here?" And he's like, "I don't know. It feels like weeks." And I'm just like, "That sells."
Yeah. Oh, he was great.
He was the first guy was phenomenal.
So good.
I want to say his name was Tom.
Tom. Yeah.
Tom. Shout out to Tom.
Shout out to Tom. He was
the Blair Witch house. Holy shit.
His acting as he took us through this, he was so good.
It sold that.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to carry us, which I respected. We figured out how to get into the Blair Witch house, and then from the minute that door opened and I saw the hallway, I said, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
because it was legitimately like the hallway from the movie where the recent movie, the one that I actually really like, where the brother is looking for Heather from the first movie.
Yeah,
and he runs up and down that house, and I remember seeing like the fog coming out of one of the doors and the light coming out of another door, and just being like, "Oh no, we're gonna have to go into all of these rooms, aren't we?"
Yeah.
And just like going into that first room, just piling in there and seeing like the dolls, the stick dolls hung up on the ceiling, the like sigils on the walls, just all of this crazy stuff that just really tied thematically everything together. And the puzzles were just so good, and they kept leading you from different rooms to different rooms. We even had a sequence where we had to crawl. Oh, and it reminded me of the scene from the movie where she's crawling through the dirt. Know, and it's just I love to think about how that house ended and how we get back to the room with the carpet, and I'm just like, there's something under that carpet. You don't go into the Blair Witch house and not expect nice hard wood. He's like, what's this carpet hiding? So we pull the carpet back, and of course there's a witch's circle on the ground, and we have to finish the ritual, and the light cuts out, and this dude just starts screaming, convulsing on the floor, telling us to get out of there. I remember telling myself, really truthfully, it should have ended with the lights going out and him standing in the corner.
I'll tell you what, and this is why I said this guy was amazing. While you guys are doing the ritual, each step you do, I'm standing next to him.
Yeah.
And he starts fidgeting with his arm and scratching, and that's where the thing ended up being the mark.
Yeah.
But he was selling that. Each thing, he was like, oh, and I said, and I looked at him, I said, what's wrong with your arm? And he was like, nothing, I'm fine. And then he ends up exposing that thing, and I was just like, this dude, man, like, I saw it happening. Like, he just took, even though, like, I was literally the only one watching him. Everybody else was focused on the ritual and doing what needed to be done, the puzzle. And I'm watching him, and I'm going, this dude, give this guy a freaking Academy Award, because he was selling the shit out of it, and he was creeping me out. And I am notorious for, like, I go into haunted houses or do these walkthroughs, and I'm like, hey, cool set, oh, you look great, da-da-da. Like, I don't get scared of this stuff.
I'm usually not scared walking through a Horror Nights house myself. Yeah.
And this definitely, like, there was just a feeling, like, that it gave me. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say, I take that back, because, like, when my kid's friend had to, like, go crawl into the tent, I'm like, what's gonna happen? I would never go into the tent. I would never go into that tent. Never once. Like, why would I do that? And he's going in. He was very brave, because anytime somebody had to crawl in, he was the first one to go. And good for him. We
started calling him Sacrifice by like third. By third house.
But didn't he touch the doll or the?
Yeah, I said, go ahead, pick that up. And he immediately reached for it. The lights cut out. There's a scream, and the door opens. Like, one of the things, so they hadn't seen the movie. Only Royale and I had seen the movie. Or any of the movies, for that matter. Right. Even the terrible Book of Shadows. Ugh. Don't want to talk about.
Let's not.
So you just know not to touch these things.
Right.
Because nothing good ever happens from touching any of the witch's dolls. And I open a drawer, and there's a doll in there. And it's very clearly hooked up to something. And I just go, hey, try to grab that. And he literally walks up and goes, okay, grabs it. And the lights immediately cut out, and there's a scream, and a door flings open. I'm just like, yeah.
And we're like, all right, well, you belong to her now.
You're right. We were like, oh, she claimed you. You're fucked. You're fucked.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, he was just like, you're done. Like, Just toss him into any corner. When it came to the crawling to check out what was in the other room, we sent him because we were like, we don't want to crawl.
Yeah.
And two, it's easier if he just goes and does it and tells us what's going on.
I did go in after him when he couldn't figure it out, and I was like, well, we all had to, but I went in because he couldn't figure it out, and then I came out, and we figured it out, and then we all had to crawl through there, and you get to the room. And the six of us, like, there was no room for all six of us to be in that room. We were like, and luckily, unlike, a little foreshadowing, other rooms that we did,
experiences,
we were with some very cool people. Like, the two people who were in this room were very, very cool.
Yes, it was a nice couple, a man and his missus, and they were. I made a point to watch our team and say, "No, we're hogging too much. Like, let's hand them things. Yeah. Let's include them."
Yeah. And they were super cool.
And they reciprocated. You know, they were into it. They were on the same pace as us. They were intellectually on the same pace as us.
Yeah.
And we were all just a part of the experience together. And, you know, if I tell anyone to go down and do any of those haunted houses off the strip, I tell them to go do the Blair Witch one.
100%.
I can't wait to go down. Hopefully it'll still be there in 2 or 3 years. Yeah. I think I want to go in 26, and I think I want to take Alley Cat, and I want to do all of them again.
Yeah.
And I hope I get to go with other people and show them as well, because I would hate to get paired up with a bunch of unenthusiastic or annoying people.
Yeah.
But, you know, the experience was sold. From that moment onward, I was just like, if that... And here's the kicker. The kid, we'll call him, and his friend... this was arguably the one that they were least excited about.
It was the one they didn't want to do.
And because our expectations were so wild, I think we ended up coming out of it enjoying it the most.
100%.
Because it had the most amount of question marks behind it.
Well, I think but I do think, having done all 4 of them, I think total package from set design to live actor to puzzles to... Just the feeling of dread that it sort of pumped into you.
Yeah.
That it, and I liked.
There's an animosity with the other ones, but this one was more of a terror.
It really was. It was.
This one was more of like
an
anxiety that builds, and you feel that dread building as you get closer to that house, and as you deal with those rituals, and you go through each room in that house, just feeling like you shouldn't be there, like that. That was the coolest aspect. It was.
Yeah,
phenomenal. You were just saying that the total package, like
package. I mean,
the idea that there was this ongoing dread, this anxiety that followed you.
It was, and I think that the other ones, while they're all worth the money and they're all good, I just think that
I would not shit on any of them.
No, I wouldn't shit on any of them. It's just, this one just
it sold it.
It definitely sold it for me. It definitely had...
And we had the plan. Yeah. Just outright information the audience doesn't have is... We had the plan to do all 4 in one day. And for this one to be the first one we did and to still be the most memorable one we did should sell it to you that, like... It really was, like, the total package. If you even have, like, an ounce of love for the Blair Witch... I think this is something like you have to go and do.
Of the 4 of them, it's the only one that didn't have something that took me out of the experience at some point. Like, I never left the experience.
Let me know when we talk about the other ones, the moments that took you out.
I will. Yeah, I will.
I think we could move on to the next one.
Yeah, which was Saw.
We did Saw next. And this is the one I would say the kid and his friend were most excited for because this was the one they wanted to do the most.
100%.
And I would also say, ironically, it was the most disappointing one out of the 4. I'm not going to say bad, I'm just going to say disappointing. And it's not all the house's fault. And,
no.
And we'll get into ops with that, but I want to talk about the house first and our experience second.
Yes.
So this one... in the same facility, in the same compound as the Blair Witch one, which was convenient, because I had looked it up online when I was scheduling, and I said, oh, the 2 It ones are in the same building, and the Saw and Blair Witch are in the same building. Cool, so we can do 2 of them, take a break, and do the other 2.
Right.
That sounds like a cool scheduling thing.
Yep.
So we immediately, I put a half an hour between each of the sessions, and I said, let's go do the Saw one next. So we go into a meat packing plant, which starts by taking you through the employee, like, lockers and center, before taking you into the actual meat packing side of the facility. And just, like, off the bat, thematically, it's just, like, not as interesting, starting to be stereotypical escape room nature, looking at lockers. You know, the coolest aspect is it did sound like they got Tobin Bell to do the tapes.
Definitely.
Because you still hear the, you found yourself in, you are locked into a room and there's poisonous gas pumping into the air. And, like, that is cool. Thematically, that is cool.
There were cool puzzles in the beginning of that. Like, having to use the vending machine, I thought was very cool.
Vending machine was cool. Lockers were fine. I love the locks, the keys, the turning of dials. I'm into all of that.
Yeah.
Anything that isn't as simple as looking something and simply pressing a button, like I'm into. And for this one, again, we got paired up with a couple, but here's what I will say kindly. They were on the thicker side, and they just kind of got in the way all the time for everything. And intellectually, they were passengers. They were, we are go-getters. We are into it. We are signed up, and they were passive. Yeah. And they were watching us do things.
Until they weren't.
Until it was obtuse. And unfortunately, you know, as we kind of got through, I want to say the first 3 rooms, I just kind of felt like they were in our way.
They definitely were.
And it was sad because I don't ever want to look at a person like they're a waste of space. But in this situation where the more split your mentality is, the more incoherent your group is, the more it's going to affect your experience because you are quite literally trying to get out of there together.
Correct.
And if you can't see the entire picture for what it's worth, you're kind of missing the point.
Right. And this one, unlike when you're comparing it to Blair Witch, certainly as we got deeper in, there were time limits. You had to solve the room in 9 minutes. You had 7 minutes.
Blair Witch, it didn't feel like it because we were so good at figuring those things out and seeing the entire room for what it was. But for Saw, it felt like the rooms had more of a point to them. Yeah. And you had to see every aspect to get the entire point. And you can't do that when people are standing in the way of things. No. You really can't.
No. I will say. But once again, though, they hit the set design out of the park.
They did. And especially as we went through... the rooms more and we started to see things directly taken from movies. Because we started to see... the barbed wire fence room that the guy in the first movie was stuck in, with the lighter, like looking at the walls, like we saw an aspect of that. Then we saw the furnace from 2, where the guy goes in and has to look at the codes on the inside of the furnace while getting locked in there. Yeah. And the house literally ends in the tub room.
Yep, sure does.
With the blood stain on the floor where you know, the guy is laying, you know, for the big twist, with the giant metal cold storage door. Like, it was on point, and none of what the house did was the house's fault.
No, it wasn't the house's fault.
I want to say management fucked us on this one.
Oh, they sure did. Because we're in the middle of it, where we're in room 2.
I want to say we're in room 3.
Room 3. And all of a sudden, so there's already 6 of us in there, and I believe that the cap is supposed to be 8, right?
The cap I was told was a max of 8 people.
Right, so we're in there, and then suddenly, 3 rooms in, here comes 3 more people.
Yeah, these 3 people were either late to our session or supposed to be the 15 to 20 minutes after us. I think it was 20-minute intervals. Right. And they try to time it by saying you only get 10 minutes per room or something like that. Because the experience is supposed to only be like an hour. Right. And you get like 6 to 8 rooms, quote unquote, but not all of them are 10 minutes worth. The Saw ones felt like they were like 5 to 8 minutes
Wow.
a piece.
I mean, some of them were 8 to 7 or 8 minutes because they literally put the timer up on the wall. And
That's
said,
what
"You
I
have. This
I remember
time."
seeing a timer say like 6 minutes.
There were 2. There was an 8 and there was a 6. Or maybe it was, I thought it was 7, maybe it was 6. And then the last room had a timer too, which I think
that was 5.
Yeah, it was not long. That was the
Yeah.
shortest one. But yeah, these 3 people, and they just come in, and I don't want to sound like this like sort of pretentious asshole, but we're in there trying to solve puzzles and get this and enjoy it for sure. But like, there's a purpose to what we're doing there, and these 3 just come in and they're like, oh, and they're just like goofing off
It
and
felt
getting
like
in
they were
people's
either
way.
drunk or high and just
Yeah.
not. They just didn't. They didn't care enough.
They didn't care at all. This is quite frankly.
I remember when we get to the last room, I'll tell a story about them. But is there any of the rooms in between? I want to say the puzzle pieces or the meat packing room with the gas or the furnace room. Like, we failed 2 of these.
We did fail 2. We failed the furnace room. We definitely failed that.
I think we got really close to failing the meat packing room.
We got very close.
But I think we solved it with the help of the guy.
The room I liked.
Talk about the guy too.
Oh, the guy.
For some reason, about halfway through this house, they threw a 10th person in, but it was like an in-story character.
Right.
So now there's 10 people in these fucking rooms as we're going through it. And it's like, I understand one of you is supposed to be our babysitter, but you just threw. We're already over a limit.
There's too many people.
There were too many people. The attention was too split. And that's what I'm trying to say is, like, you can't do that in this experience. Like,
some of the rooms are far too small.
We paid to have our experience be, and I specifically said, they were like, how hard do you want this to be? And I said, don't help us at all.
Right.
If we fail on our own merits. I think I literally said.
Yeah.
And we get stuck in room 3, which is when the people get up our ass.
Right.
And suddenly they throw in a babysitter at room 4. And I'm just like, you only did this because now I can't see the entire picture.
Right, 100%.
And now we need help because you're trying to usher us along.
Yeah. There was the one room, it had the freezer, and then over here, the kid's friend was crawling underneath to go back behind. It was like a conveyor belt almost.
Yes.
So that room was... I thought that room was cool as shit.
That's what I'm calling the meat packing.
Yeah, the meat packing.
I remember getting fake blood all over my hands.
We did.
From the dead cows and pigs and stuff.
It was the only place where I had any sort of trepidation because I went into the freezer and then closed the door per instructions. And I was in there and it was dark and I was with one of these drunk assholes. And that's the only time I felt uncomfortable in the thing was I was like, can I get out of here now? Like, you could. You just hit the button, you got out. But it was a minute, and I was like, oh, my God. But that's also the room where I was trying to work on the one puzzle, which I did eventually solve, where the guy from the original couple, literally, I'm working on it for maybe 90 seconds. And he literally bodies me out of the way. And I'm not a small guy.
No, but he was big.
He was bigger than me. He literally put his shoulder and pushed me out of the way to take over and from that point on, I literally stopped participating.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just hung back and watched everybody else do it, and it just soured that that's the one I want to do again the most.
Because you felt so impacted the first time. Because
I had such a bad experience, not because of the house. Again, set decoration was good.
House was fine. House
was great. The people we were with sucked. And yeah, once that dude bodied me out of the way when I was trying to solve a puzzle for like 90 seconds, like it wasn't like I was there for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. And he just I was done. I just hung back. In the last room when we had to
I would have looked at him and been like, what the fuck?
I did. I said, what the fuck? He goes, oh, you're just trying to figure it out. Whatever. I'm not going to get in a fight with somebody.
There's no reason to get heated about an escape room.
Absolutely not.
At the same time, there's no reason to do that to someone.
No. So I just said, cool. I'll just hang back and watch everybody else. I did, like I said, when we got to the last room and you had to like find with the light, with the black light. Yeah. I did a little searching with that, but
from the furnace room, from the bucket room, the furnace room, and the last room, you were like, nah.
I think at one point, I think I'm lying a little bit because I think in the furnace room once.
Well, it's okay if your heart was just not in it from that point forward.
When the kid's friend crawled out of the furnace, I did go in and see if I could see anything. But at that point, I think you had gotten into that other room finally.
Yeah.
And then by that time we were in there, there was no time. We're outside.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, let's just go out this other door.
On the furnace room for sure.
So it sucks. It sucked for me because I just was like, I was so pissed off that I was just like, I can't. I'll just look at the. I'll just look at the pretty
emotionally
sets.
detach yourself to not get heated about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fair. I think I would have too.
And it sucks, yes, because it was like it was a cool room to look at, and that's what I did the rest of the way.
I still blame Ops for putting us in that situation.
100%.
If we hadn't had to split things so egregiously, then that dude probably wouldn't have bodied you to get into a puzzle.
But because he probably couldn't do anything either because there were just too many people.
He was probably looking around
do
going,
something.
"What the fuck am I doing?" Yeah, it's fair.
So I give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but it just
a little bit,
a little bit, just a little bit. But you still don't physically knock somebody out of the way. Like it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's not.
But anyway, but it was a cool house to look at from that point on. I'll tell you that.
My experience. So there was one room I forgot that I think is from Saw 7, the Jigsaw movie, where everyone has to go into individual tunnels to avoid getting shotgun blasted from the ceiling.
Right.
And that was a puzzle in the house as well, so I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But you get through several of these puzzles, and then you come out at the bathroom at Saw 1 that comes back in most of the movies. And the dude who was previously with us, who told us to go ahead earlier, is now unconscious in the bath, like Lee Winnell's character in the first movie.
Yeah.
And as we're figuring out how to get the clues, he wakes up and he starts to lead us through the rest of it right when the timer goes off. So we have 5 minutes with this guy's help to kind of get his ankle restraint unlocked.
Oh.
And he's very specifically saying that the key is in a safe. And I just keep cracking jokes at this guy, just like, hey, anyone look around for a saw? I think I've seen this in a movie before. We need to take this guy's leg off. And he's like, no, don't take my leg off. So I was fucking rap with that guy. And that was the funniest aspect of the Saw house that I had, which is the guy had a sense of humor, and I just kept saying we're gonna have to sacrifice this guy. Let's just get out of here. And he was just like, no, fuck you, don't leave me.
That was a good one because the kid did a really good job. He kind of solved that room for us.
Yeah. Here's my funny story from that last room.
Yeah.
I might be an asshole now. So I want to say the 3 people who came in after us was a gay British dude, a small Asian guy, and an equally awkward tall British woman.
Correct.
And I remember them saying that they had done something before they even entered the house, which told me they were not all there, mentally. So I think they said that they had dosed or something before. So they were either on mushrooms, acid, or some other shit before they came into the house, which is... It's funny if you're alone and you paid for the experience to not affect other people, but this is an experience where you are very much with other people, and it's probably annoying to be forced to be a sideline to these people. So this last puzzle is timed. We're in this room trying to figure it out, and I am watching the clock tick down.
Yeah.
And I am going, we're not going to make it. I'm literally looking at, we do not have half of this room solved, and we are already at, half of the time. Yeah. I'm watching the Asian and the girl just fucking suck.
Oh, they were doing that thing on the mat or whatever,
with the magnets.
Yeah,
I walk over to the guy and I basically take over for the girl and I say, go up, go left, go right, go down, go up, go left, because he's dragging a magnet. And I'm seeing on the other side of the wall where the ball is going attached to the magnet, because you got to get it to the exit point through a maze. And he's following my directions so slowly that I kept saying no, more to whatever direction I said, that I actually just got sick of talking. And I quite literally said, do you mind? and took the magnet from him. And with my hand on one side, I leaned to the other side and just went boom, 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 and finished it really quickly.
I knew you finished it. I didn't
because
know
that, I think, is what opened the compartment to get all the black lights.
It was, yeah.
And I was just like, if we had not done that, because we got down to like less than 30 seconds in that room.
I thought we were like at 9 seconds with that door open.
Okay, so even worse.
Yeah.
But it's because these assholes were taking so long, and I was like, this is not a two-person job.
Right.
I said, my arm could reach that far. It's a magnet.
Yeah.
I'm going to look on the other side and just go. This is
it.
not a team exercise. This is one person can do this, and you are holding, at this point, 10 people back.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not, no.
Yeah.
I literally walked up and I turned to the Asian guy. I didn't wait for an answer. I said, do you mind? And I grabbed the wand out of his hand, basically, and then, because it's attached to the wall. It's not he was attached to it.
Right.
It was attached to the wall.
Yeah.
So I grabbed the thing while his hand is still on it, and after moving it like twice, he just let go.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I got this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I finished the thing. The compartment opens. Everyone takes a flashlight. That's when I took a step back and said, okay, I contributed.
Yeah.
Because I stopped caring at that point. And then we left it to them to open the safe for some reason. They got the combination wrong three times.
Yeah.
I was like, have you fuckers never opened a locker before?
Yeah, no.
Like, you've clearly never opened a safe before, but, like, what's your excuse to never opening a locker?
Didn't somebody go down there and take it over? I thought somebody
in
did.
like a minute, yeah. Someone else sat down and did it, like, real. I think it was the girl in the group just finally said, no, you aren't getting it. You're missing a spin, and just did it, like, immediately. And I was like, thank you, because no one else wanted to be like, you guys suck.
The actor was saying things, too. He kept saying,
no,
you didn't.
He kept going like, nope, you gotta turn it again.
Yep,
you missed it.
Oh, you missed
Start
it.
over.
Yep.
Start over. You missed. Because he was getting sick of even being in character.
Yeah.
He was just like, no, we're not gonna make it.
Because I'm sure he was.
And he's watching these idiots like spin a dial wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that was good. I was just walking around with the flashlight, just looking for more symbols. I knew we found them all already. I was just like, oh, look at that. There's a turtle.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Like, I just was so disconnected from it by the point.
The coolest thing, and I will say, I will give them this, because I had been expecting it the entire house and hadn't missed any other opportunity. The coolest thing was the ending, because we unlock the dude's foot. He excitedly gets up and says, let's get out of here, and he swings the metal door open, and standing right there on the other side of the cold storage door is a person wearing a pig mask with a cattle prod taser.
Yep.
And they pretend to tase this guy and drag him off. And we all kind of watched this dude get dragged off, but then the person in the pig mask turned around and made eye contact with all of us, and then just lit the cattle prod, and we all fucking ran.
Get the fuck out of there!
I remember being like, I don't know why I turned and ran so fast, but I saw the whites of that guy's eyes, and I said, I'm fucking out of here.
No, thank you.
That's what I liked about that one, because I feel like we missed the cue earlier. I feel like the reason that the helper got taken earlier is because the person showed up and physically took him.
Yeah.
And I also feel, in hindsight, that the pig mask guy could have been someone to force us from puzzle to puzzle if we had failed in a room where they had not previously been included.
Right.
But we did not experience that in this house.
Yeah.
And I do want to quickly get into the last two houses. We could talk about them as a pair because they are essentially a pair.
Yeah, they are.
We did It Chapters 1 and 2 later on that night. And I want to say off the bat, schedule these things at night because people are off doing other things at night. And they are way too busy and way too consumed and have other stuff going on in Vegas that they're not going to waste their time doing a fucking escape room off the strip. We got to do both of these rooms by ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Just the four of us. And let me tell you, the experience is better.
It was a great time.
When it is just you and your friends bouncing off of each other. And it fed into the experience because I had known, I had been spoiled only slightly, that I knew for It Chapters 1 and 2, if we did not solve the puzzles fast enough, they do have someone dressed as Pennywise who will chase you to the next room. And I remember saying that to the team and them being like, ha ha ha, yeah, right. And then when it happened multiple times, seeing your kid just like jump out of his skin or jump like Scooby into Shaggy's arms, you know, or even cling onto you at one point is when I lost it.
Yeah.
The first time he showed up, I shit myself a little bit. I said, oh no, I don't like this. Yeah. And I ran. But by like the 5th time he showed up, I was like, oh, we suck. This guy's coming for us.
Let me say this, and this was the thing that took me out of it in that one. After the first time, I really think for all the great set design, and I'm talking right when you walk into that house, you're in the dairy, like
the tunnels, the sewers.
Well, I mean, when you walk in very first, before you even start the house, you walk into like the dairy town center.
Yes, you're in like a township,
and it's
a municipal building.
A municipal building, and like have all these Stephen King like little Easter eggs all around, like missing posters and different things. So again, set design is fantastic. And the first time Pennywise pops out, and then the second time Pennywise pops out, and Pennywise's mask goes askew. I'm like, oh,
I didn't see that.
I said maybe a little prosthetics, maybe a little makeup instead of a plastic mask. That's just okay. The second time Pennywise came out, like they bumped something and their mask kind of went on the side of their head, and I was like, all right, this is not scary anymore. Like now it's just like every time Pennywise pops out, I'm going to be like,
I think I had already looked away at that point.
So
the terror was still pervasive for me.
The first time Pennywise came out for sure, it's like, yo, okay, where did this guy come from? So for me, I would just like maybe a prosthetic, maybe some makeup instead of the rubber mask. But it took me out of it for a second. It didn't take me out of the whole thing. It was still a fantastic experience.
What I will say, in the progression of this one, is much like the movies, Chapter 1 is better than Chapter 2, but only in the sense that there is more darkness, mystery, and intrigue with Chapter 1.
Right.
Because with Chapter 1, you start off in the sewers. You got to get your way out of the sewers. And then fantastically, just like the movie, you find yourself at Neibolt House. Mm-hmm. And with Neibolt House comes all of the funny shit that you run into in the movies, which is like the scary, not at all scary doors versus the clown room. Yeah. Which again,
the clown room was messed up.
We had Sacrifice jump into the coffin for us. Did. Because none of us either could have fit or didn't want to do it.
Wanted to.
And he said, yeah, sure. Hopped right in. And I remember him telling me just like, oh yeah, when I came out the other side, Pennywise was in my face and all he did was point at a door for me to go through. And I just remember being like, okay. And I was just like, dude, you are like special.
Yeah, no, I just shit my pants.
You are touched.
I come out of that and there's Pennywise standing right there. Rubber mask or not. I'm going, what?
Face to face.
Yeah, no, thank you.
At that point.
Not to turn this into another Bevisode, but I did enjoy the bloody bathroom. Bev's bloody bathroom.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Yeah,
that was very well done.
That was good too.
We have to pull something. That was in there. We had to pull something out of the sink, right? And it was.
Really, there was a key attached to a chain or a line. Super,
but it was all bloody and gross. It was. It was pretty cool.
No, thematically everything was on point. When you get through after Neibolt House, you get through a fraction of Bev getting kidnapped, and then you go down back into the sewers, but this time in the bottom of Neibolt, you go into the well.
Yeah.
And I still remember the puzzle of us in the main Neibolt house room. Oh no! I'm even skipping the garage. We were in the garage.
Oh, the garage.
We were in the garage for like 10 full minutes because we did not understand what puzzle we were supposed to be doing at that time. Because I had half done it and hadn't seen a result. Right. And I was too spooked because I looked over at a window one point and saw the Pennywise actor like look into the window and walk away, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. He's gonna pop out at any kind, and I don't want to be too close to any of these walls where he's gonna... I was like, I know this scene from the movie.
Right, yep, you said that like twice.
I know this scene from the movie. The slideshow's gonna start. He's gonna pop out. I'm gonna shit. And then the minute the garage door like opened, we ran into the Neibolt Park.
We did.
And we had run out of so much time doing the garage that Pennywise hopped out pretty much immediately and chased us into Neibolt House, which is the first time he comes out like full force.
Full force, yeah.
And chases you into the next room. And that's where I was like, okay, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
From the minute I saw the
knee.
Neibolt house, like almost like a full-face facade.
Yeah.
And you're standing in the front yard trying to figure out how to get into the house.
Yeah.
When Pennywise showed up behind the gate to the left-hand side, I was like, nope, I'm done. Get me in the house.
Yeah.
Get me in there. I want to be in there.
I forgot about the garage till you brought that up.
Yeah.
And again, there was so much detail in that room. It's not surprising it took us forever to
Exactly
figure
like
out.
the movie.
Because there's so much detail in there. You don't know what you can grab, what's part of it, what is part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
I remember finding the little boat that ended up going back. And I found that like 5 minutes before we used it, and I went to like move it, and it didn't immediately, because it was a magnet, so it didn't immediately move. And
you thought,
they're
no,
very
I don't
like,
touch
yeah,
this.
well, I don't want to break it. And then I just went back to it again when you're doing the map. I'm like, this is the, and then it popped off. I'm like, oh, I could have given this to you guys a long time ago.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is a magnet for a puzzle. We just didn't know how to do it
We
yet.
just didn't know how to do it. It was
And then
that
we did,
room was great.
We did fail the Neibolt Lighthouse piano puzzle.
We definitely did.
There was something going on with the timing on that one where I was like, that's a bit too fine. You guys should lighten that one up a little bit.
That was
and
tough.
The
Oh, that was one where the
piano-
light was flashing and
yeah,
like
the light
Morse
was,
code
I
almost.
didn't like the light flashing and I didn't like the piano. You guys they didn't spell it out enough.
No.
I remember her being like, "Do you guys have any questions after it?" And being like, "We only failed one of those puzzles. Can you tell me what the key was?" And they were like, "Yeah, there was a bird cage on top of the piano, and you were supposed to play cage." I'm like, in what fucking world does someone look around that room
And that's what.
and focus on that?
One other night that
I was like, no, you put sheet music on the piano and you draw a bird cage in the corner. And then you go, oh.
That particular live actor was not my favorite.
No, she sucked.
She was just not into it.
Just wet sandwich.
That was when we were in the
kitchen.
We picked her up, but then we picked her up. Wasn't she behind the cage where we figured we had to do the thing with the posters, and that's where we picked her up. Yeah,
she was trapped in the sewers, and we had to get her out.
She wasn't great.
No,
didn't look her.
And I don't mean to. She'll never listen to this, but she sucked.
No. I think she
would to be mean, but she was either tired or just not the right person for that job.
Why not? I remember hearing them talk. It was somebody's first day in the job. I don't know if it was her or if it was the girl who was in the municipal building at the beginning, but it was somebody's first day. If it was
the girl at the beginning, she was great.
She was great.
She was very in character. She was the right amount of spooky and the right amount of unhinged, which is what that, what a King-based escape room needs
100%.
to channel is the right amount of spooky and unhinged.
Yeah.
But color me fucking surprised when we get to the end of that house and it's the full-on scene of Pennywise's lair. And there's a giant actual model of the train car, the Pennywise train car, with a dancing Pennywise animatronic.
It was good animatronic.
For so much, I just sat there stunned, just going, "Oh my god, it's gonna dance!
Yeah.
It's gonna actually dance," and it did.
Yeah, and then so did we.
I had started before he did because I was so excited. I was like, there's no way they put an animatronic in this room, have it say the lines, and then it doesn't dance. And then it danced. And then the room filled with fog, and we were told to get out of the room, which was the end, because I was too busy dancing. So they told us to get out. And they were like, wait, you guys are the next chapter too, right?
Yep, we sure
are. And they were
are.
like, let's not waste time.
Yeah, because they
let's
wanted
not
to
waste
get
everyone's time. Let's get you through this.
Because they wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, they were pretty done. So I think like 3 people were left in the entire building, and they were like, yeah, let's get you through this. So we immediately started chapter 2, which was just as cool as chapter 1.
It was.
And you start off in the Chinese restaurant.
You do.
And then you work your way through, I want to say, Mike's job at the library.
Mike's job at the library,
And then once you're done with the library, you go visit Grandma.
Oh,
and the entire time I'm sitting in Grandma's house. And, like, we can skip over the library and the Chinese, you know, because
they were so cool, though.
They play out exactly like the movie, and it's very cool to see those props and those effects, you know. The ritual of Chud, like the actual tan skin sitting there on the table.
Yep.
It's fun. It's fine. And that chick who helped us through was fun.
She was great,
and she was easy to talk to and helped us the right amount.
Right.
You know, I said no hints, but when we were really lost, she gave us just a playful enough
just a little nudge.
to point. Oh, and when we were about to get to Grandma's house, which I will get to, a very funny moment happened. because I'm sitting at a desk in Pennywise's presumed old parlor.
Yeah.
It's the scene, the flashback scene where you see what Pennywise looked like before he took on the clown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in his parlor, and I'm playing with his doodads, and the window in front of me opens, and Pennywise reaches his arm through and grabs one of my doodads.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, oh, fuck, how am I supposed to complete this without it? And the chick goes, you can't. And I go, well...
Yeah.
And I stand there, and she goes, maybe if you ask him really nicely, he'll give it back. And I'm like, that's not on character.
Yeah.
That's
No,
not...
definitely not.
He'd definitely make me trade an arm for that.
Right.
At the very least.
But...
And I remember going, oh, Mr. Bob Gray. I was like, knock, knock, knock,
Hey.
Mr. Bob Gray, can I have my toy back, please? And he opened the window and dropped it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're just having a bit of fun
I
with
forgot
us now.
about that, too.
But then we get to Grandma's room, and I remember making a crack immediately, just like, she better not come... I swear, if some crazy-looking cross-eyed bitch with saggy tits comes running out of the corner, I'm gonna lose it. And she goes, you talking about Grandma? I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about Grandma. She's like, she better be wearing a towel or something this time, because I'm not here for it. And we go to leave the room, and an animatronic opens up out of a cabinet, and you see the cross-eyes and fucking saggy titties. And I went, God, you said no. And she was like, you guys go on without me. I got to take care of Grandma. And I was like, fuck right you do. And that was funny.
That was funny too. Fucking Grandma.
Then we got passed on to a different chick or similar chick to the one from Chapter 1 who was equally tone deaf.
Yeah, not as into it, mailing it in a bit.
Led us through, I believe, the revisit to Niebolt House, or the part of the cave that revisits Niebolt House.
Yeah.
And you go through the old losers club, and then you go through the like individual terrors that the kids had.
Yep.
Before you get to Pennywise's cave.
Very cool.
I skipped the carnival.
Oh, the carnival.
Carnival was cool. Guy was cool.
Guy was super cool.
The mirror maze was cool.
Mm-hmm.
The games you had to actually play to unlock the mirror maze were actual carnival games. Very fun. When we got through the carnival, the guy helped us get through the carnival.
He did.
Because that connected us to, I think...
we definitely did not get the ring toss.
No, the finale act needed to get pushed up a little bit.
Yeah.
And he helped us a little to get through that. But when we did, and he told us to carry on through the rest of it and go through, I remember thinking after Grandma and after the dancing animatronic, I said, there's no way. I remember looking at, I was like, we're in the caves, and I remember looking at you or your son, and I just remember being like, there's no way they have a 16-foot tall spider monster. There's just no way. And then we get into a big room with a tall ceiling, and I go, oh fuck. And out of the corner, fog, mist, fucking light rain fills. The lighting package comes on. And this giant fucking spider animatronic comes crawling out of a corner. And I go, they fucking did it.
They did it. Of course they did it.
They did it. So yeah, last thing I remember saying is giant Pennywise animatronic.
The spider.
I can't imagine how much something like that costs.
I can't either.
But in my head, it's in the 5-digit to thousands range because it was very articulated. It had sound effects. It had lighting effects. Mm-hmm. It moved in different I remember that room being a little confusing because it was we had to go grab things to put in the bucket. Right. To do the ritual. Right. And we didn't find all of them.
No, we didn't.
We needed 6 of them, and we found 4.
Yeah.
And the person was just like, we don't have enough time. Do the ritual.
Just do it. Yeah.
And I remember grabbing hands with everyone and being like, okay, we gotta. Your son made a funny crack. He was like, let's just bully him to death. And I was like, yeah, good point. Good point. Good on you. You know what? But I remember walking out of that and just being so amazed at what they're capable of doing. Yeah. And I've had this thought, and I've talked to a couple other people about it ever since getting bad. I'm just like, what would you love to see them do in the same vein as what we experienced? And when we were there, I remember saying to your son that they would kill if that dude were to do Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
And I went home and I researched it. Dude had done Five Nights at Freddy's at one point,
Really?
but not as an escape room, as a walk-through experience at the Terror Dome.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
In, I want to say, 2015.
All right.
In Circus.
Yeah. Interesting.
But Egan apparently ran Terror Dome for 6 or 7 years. That's what he's known for. So that's why he bought up the off-the-strip stuff and started doing his own houses.
Well, he definitely didn't run Terror Dome the one time I was there, like 15 years ago, because that was one of the worst haunted house experiences.
Well,
I've ever
no,
done.
Terror Dome got shut down because it was bad.
It was awful.
So it might have. I mean, he might have taken it over in the latter 2000s. But regardless, he's the one who saw it to the ground.
It's awesome.
So, but yeah, if you could answer that question, well, and don't just say this out of love. Like, don't just say this because you love Halloween. You would love
it wouldn't
to see them do, because I don't think
it wouldn't be
thematically that would work. But
I agree
like,
100%.
If you could put your dime on like anything for Egan to do, what would you suggest?
I think it would be interesting. I mean, I would be interested in him seeing him do the thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not the answer expected, but an answer I'm delighted to hear nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, Halloween wouldn't fit for
Yeah,
that. It just wouldn't be in it.
There's something about the Thing movie and just feeling confined.
Yeah, the
and
claustrophobia.
feeling like you gotta get out of there. Mm-hmm. And the set pieces, the rooms that you could set up. You know, you could put the two-face alien on the gurney and have it maybe move around a little bit whenever you're not looking.
The thing that would
You could go down to the generator room and try not to get your face fucked by Blair.
The thing that would be difficult to replicate, obviously, in that is the distrust of everyone you're with. Like,
Turn it into distrust of your surroundings.
That's
though.
what it'd have to be, yeah.
You know, turn it into distrust of your babysitter.
Yeah.
You know, have them be real weird.
Yeah.
You know, start off normal and then they disappear and then they come back different.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's the way to recreate that.
That would be the way to recreate that. In my head, I was thinking something more practical. I think there's a reason Blair Witch works, and because Blair Witch at its core is an escape room of a movie.
Yeah.
It is people stuck in a situation that they have to get out of. Now,
Saw
so
as well.
is Thing, so is Saw. In my head, Nightmare on Elm Street works perfectly.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Because you find yourself in dreams with illogical puzzles that can't be explained.
Yeah.
That have to be explained as, well, it's a dream and you're in my nightmare, bitch.
Right.
So you gotta get out.
Only if Freddy comes and calls you bitch. That's the only way it works.
I mean, I found that out when I went through the corn maze at the Waldorf, because I said, he has to say something or else he's not really Freddy. And at the very end, he said, welcome to prime time, bitch. And I went, he said it. And then I ran out with a smile on my face.
Yeah, I was saying, Nightmare did cross my mind too.
I would have also put something creepy and weird, you know, not to give it any kudos because I don't want to, but Jeepers Creepers would certainly fit, because I love his lair and how Lovecraftian and terrifying it is. Something about being stuck, because he gets stuck down there.
Sure.
Something about being stuck in that situation would give me nightmares. But I can't think of too many that I would be like, this works really well, because I think something like Texas Chainsaw is too aggressive. It's better to just be a haunted house, to be a passive thing. You don't want to actually listen to someone with a chainsaw for an hour while you're trying to get through a house.
No.
And even if you didn't, at that point it'd be like, where's the chainsaw? So it's like it's a double-edged sword. I don't think Jason would work because it's just not the right theme. It's hand in hand with Halloween. It's just not the right theme. You know, something like Psycho is just too oblique.
Right.
You know, even if it's under the pretense of, like, Norman locked you in his mom's house and he's creeping around every corner, it's just like, well, yeah, why is his house a fucking fun house then?
Yeah.
Why does he have so many locks on his door then?
I got one for you. And this is, like, really old school, but I think something cool and again, we're getting this with what they're doing out
Go
there
the
in a couple
distance.
years.
Yeah.
Would be something like a Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, if they were to go classical with it, you can definitely go in several different directions. There's no reason to do like a monster's maze.
No.
Where like, you know, one room is Dracula's catacombs, one room is Frankenstein's lab.
Yeah.
You know, one room is Jekyll and Hyde's fucking, you know, potion chamber or Phantom of the Opera's organ room. You know, you could do a lot with that.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
But they're kind of doing that with what's coming there.
Well, that's more of
that's not an escape
he's
room.
alluding to Universal's Unleashed, which is coming to Vegas. It's being built next to Meow Wolf at Area 15. That is very literally just going to be 4 Horror Nights houses that operate year round.
Yeah.
But the thing that excites people is at Horror Nights you have to conga line through these houses, so you end up seeing the scare 4 feet in front of you before it happens to you. And the cool thing about it being at Vegas is like, if you're a dedicated party, they're probably just going to send you through this thing alone.
Right.
But then, you know, begs the question of like, how well staffed are these things going to be? Because a lot of us have seen like the shambles of the Walking Dead year-round house that was in Hollywood for a while. Like, you know, they're going to have to maintain it. And they did release the 4 houses there.
I saw that.
You saw the lineup.
One of them is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
One of them is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is very ironic and very funny.
The other one is one I'd never
seasonally
heard of, the Scarecrow one.
So Scarecrow was an original that they had on both coasts at different times.
Got it.
It's one of their original concepts that was like so renowned that they were like, people would kill to go through this again, and they would. Because it was supposedly, I did not get to experience either coast because they were predating 2018, but apparently both are great. And then they're doing a classic Monsters house, which they've done multiple years. Right. And then they're doing Exorcist Believer. Which, while it was a really good house 2 years ago, that movie has been known to be dog shit. So why would you do that? Remove the Believer part. Just take the font down another 8 pieces. 8 pixels. Make the font for Believer very, very small so that people think they're walking into a Reagan-based house. Yeah. And then when they see a little black girl, they go, huh? That would be fun. That would be its own little twist.
That would be
I'd be into that. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't too many things that can fit Egan's build too well, but the things that have fit really well. Yeah. Even in a perfect world, I was like, I don't know if it would work. And not only did it work, they made it work twice. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, that's why Freddy would work, because they're on the same frequency. But there aren't too many things like Saw or Blair Witch where people feel trapped. Yeah. I think that's like the key word. It's just like trapped. Yeah. Like without going the stereotypical route and saying something like M. Night Shyamalan's Split would be perfect, because of course it would. Yeah. But like it would almost be too boring. Right. I'm just underground in some tunnels with a fucking bald psycho. Nah, I'm good. I'm good on that. Yeah. But yeah, all that we're talking about here, the reason we talked about it for an hour is because it's fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
And I think our rankings were similar, which was we would take Blair Witch Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and then Saw. Correct. As far as our personal order would go. That is. But if we were to go back and Saw were to happen again, I might move it up. I just loved doing both Chapters 1 and 2 alone with you guys.
Yeah, that was great.
I don't want to have to pay for the private. It was 4 times the cost, right. maybe 2 times the cost in some scenarios, and it's just not worth it. And this time around, if I go to Vegas, I'm gonna end my first night with doing Blair Witch and Saw back to back, and then I'm gonna end my second night doing it back to back. And I think I can get lucky running into the same end of the night. People are off doing other things.
I was just gonna say that exact same thing. I said that the next time we do them or whatever. I go back, you go back, whatever. We do them at night. when, like you said, as you pointed out before, when there's nobody around, people are out going to the clubs and gambling, and
I will talk to you about it because I am looking to go again. But
I'm always down
25 is shot for me, but
yeah,
I am talking about 26. And when I go, I want to go for a night or two more than what we did.
Yeah.
And Horror Unleashed is opening next fall.
Yeah.
So it'll be ready in 26.
Yeah.
I would like to see it in the first year just to see it.
Yeah.
And then whenever they change the lineup, I'm going to have to see if the lineup is worth going again.
Yeah.
But I liked Vegas enough to consider that a once every 4 or 5 years type of trip. And Alley Cat also hasn't been, so her thing is like, so everything you did with them, you're just gonna have to do all over again with me. And I said, sure.
Well, that's Mrs. Royale, which she's also wants to go, but she pretty much wouldn't want to do very much of anything that we did. So
maybe you will have a couple extra days to go off and do your own.
Correct.
Or maybe you will join me and whoever, because Deputy Dewey wants to come this time too. So.
Well, for sure, and it's one of those things like the new house that's opened up at MEOW WOLF, that in the Area 15 area. She'd be into that. It's the escape rooms that she would never be able to do 4 of them. That could never happen. So
well, if it was 2 one night and 2 the next night, and it was 2 hours.
Maybe if I gave her like the puppy dog eyes, and was like, I'll buy you whatever.
I don't think they're very hard to do. They're very passive experiences. Even if you're not into them, you just come along for the ride.
It would have to be one of those things where I have to make sure that I'm counter programming with
other things that she is interested in. That's a trade,
and that's what it is. I mean, that's just what partnership is anyway. So
compromise.
Compromise.
I'm learning that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have a partner who is very interested in these things.
Yeah.
Because I've subjected her to the things that I'm interested in multiple times already, and she's on board.
That's good.
MEOW WOLF was the one that stung the most, I think, for her, because I had shown her videos, I had talked it up so much, and then say, and I don't really want to get into it. I'll talk about it a little bit, but it's just like MEOW WOLF was my favorite thing on this trip.
Oh, 100%.
And MEOW WOLF was something that when I experienced it, and we're talking about the Omega Mart specifically.
Yes.
Omega Mart in Vegas at Area 15. I want to unequivocally say that it changed my life. And it's because it showed me that things like that can exist.
100%.
And I know Radio Tove just opened in Texas, which is their newest one. And then I believe next year or the year after, the Vegas one, or the Los Angeles one is opening. And that one's going to be, instead of based off of a radio tower, that one's going to be based off of a movie theater.
I can't wait.
I will be there for that.
I will be there for that too, 100%.
But I'm even talking to Alley Cat about doing a weekend in Colorado this in 25, this upcoming year. Yeah. I have friends there who want to go there, and I said, the day we get in, we will do Casa Bonita, and then the next day we wake up, we go to MEOW WOLF, we go to what are they, the Junction, that's the one in Colorado.
I believe so.
The name is escaping me.
I can't remember it either.
Convergence Station is in Colorado, and apparently it's the one that's most like Omega Mart with the pass and everything. That you go around and do all the puzzles.
That's my favorite thing about that. Was that we were there for an hour and a half, just fascinated.
Just looking at things.
And just fascinated by it.
Just looking at things.
And then the guy's like, hey.
We run into the game master at
what's his name?
Federico.
Federico, that's right.
We run into the game master at hour 2.5 or 3 because we were looking at the puzzles that other people were physically doing, and we said, how do we get one of those?
Yeah, what is that?
And the dude gave it to us for free. Even though it's only like $3, he gave it to us for free. Yeah. And he said, go and do everything on this card, but if you're here long enough, let me know if you're done. And so from that point forward, it was gamified, and I said, game on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he came up to us because he liked what I was wearing.
He did,
He told me like a personal anecdote about being a fan of Tintin, and I was just like, that's so cool. Like this guy just like, you just walked up and said, "You deserve this because of the type of person you are." And I said, "You have no fucking idea." And I hope by the end of it, he now understands exactly what type of person I am, because
I think it was clear.
we went back to him, I want to say, every 15 to 20 minutes saying, we're getting there, we're doing it. And then when we were done, he sent us on optional homebrewed missions that he came up with himself just working there.
Yeah.
And holy shit, everyone, if you like games, if you like interactive art, if you like, you know, trippy art, if you like fiction or storytelling, interactive storytelling, even LARPing to a certain degree, where you're in a space, in a story, a part of that story, trying to solve it yourself, not in an escape room type setting, but in a art installation type setting, where the minute you pass through into that mart, you are in a different world, you are in a different space, and you have to dig into it, or else you're gonna be too passive to enjoy it.
Well, and that's what I found just utterly fascinating about it.
Place
is that we were, without knowing there was a game, for literally hours.
Had no clue, because when I bought the tickets, they did not allude that there was more to it.
So
I was into it just at face value.
That's what I'm saying. We're into it, and just like looking at it and like experiencing it and hitting a button here or there.
The iceberg for this place is huge.
Yeah.
Because surface level, it's like, oh, iceberg. And then underneath, it's the fucking Titanic sinker.
It's so good. Even just the mart before you find the secret door and go in.
Yeah.
Or one of 5 secret doors or whatever it was.
5 secret entries.
Or you could just walk up the steps. But which I love. But that's not fun. But like just walking around the mart, just laughing at the shit that they have in there. Like just the funniest
aisles full of stuff that you can actually buy that is really funny. Like a soda can that says gender fluid.
Absolutely.
Holy shit, I know I was on some shit, but it still made me laugh like a lot. I went into the escape rooms sober because I told myself if these are scary, I don't want to have a bad time. But I said there's no way I have a bad time on some shit from MEOW WOLF. So I smoked an entire blunt by myself outside, because I looked at one side that said no carrying in illicit substances. If we notice you on illicit substances, we'll kick you out. And I said, okay, I'm going to get really high really fast so that when I walk in there, it hasn't quite hit yet. And then the minute we entered and I looked at one shelf, the dime dropped, and I went, oh, fuck. This is immediately too high for it. I was like, I am anxious and overwhelmed at the amount of stuff going on here. And I kind of followed you guys around wordlessly, just being like, tell me what to look at. And you were just like, look at this shelf. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And then I like looked at a cereal box that said, oh, those things.
That's the one. That was
the one your son.
That was the kid's favorite. He bought that one. I brought it home. Oh, those. And it's marshmallow candies of all the things you find in your junk drawer in the kitchen.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
And the icon on the what is it? The mascot is a junk drawer with a face.
It is.
It's just so funny. Like, what was? It was a cleaning product that said, I'm done.
I'm done.
It was then the catchphrase was like, when you're just done. And I was like, I'm going to buy this and like hand it to someone when they ask me to do something. Yeah. I'm just going to be like, nah,
I'm done.
I'm done. Another one of my favorite ones was an entire yellow liquid in a 2-liter gallon like soda container, but it just said butter on it. And I just remember being like, holy shit. I was like, could you like, and I have no doubt that it tastes like corn.
I'm sure
or
it did.
Something.
Oh, there was corn with a big exclamation point. They had that. Of course, there was tattooed chicken everywhere.
Yeah, tattooed chicken is one of their own personal inventions that it has an online presence. Tattooed chicken. Apparently, tattooed chicken is at like all of their locations.
Yeah, love that.
But it's just like they had indie artists come in and do these rooms, and it wasn't just a part of the experience, but it's ingrained in the experience. And I just remember being so amazed, it was you who said it. It was like, this is one of the nicest things anyone ever could have said to me. It's like, I think you turned to me at some point, because we've known each other for 3 or 4 years now, and it's just like, I've been inviting you to the Thing game for 2 years now.
Yeah.
It's just like, you've seen what I could do with time and a little bit of imagination to get some people together to make an experience, kind of a LARPy type of thing. And it's just like, we got like halfway through it. We weren't even done with the card yet.
Yeah.
And you turned to me and you were just like, I feel like you made this.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was so taken aback. I was like, you're right. Like, it made me think of the art installation I did when I was a senior in art school, where I had done my own little... I only had a corner of a room to work with, so I said, I'm going to do a little setup with all these cabinets and files, and I'm going to handwrite my own little journal, and if people read the journal, they'll know where to find the key. If they find the key, they unlock the lockbox. Once they get into the lockbox, they'll find out what actually happened in the narrative of the story, which was, again, based off of The Thing, which was based off of a story called Who Goes There?
Yeah.
So it's like I based it off of all of those things. At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
I based it off of all of those things. I tied them all together. And I just remember like thinking about that experience and being like, you're right, I did that as an art school idiot for a thesis, for my senior thesis, for stuff I was able to put together, make myself, or find at like vintage stores or thrift shops.
Yeah.
This is people with like $1 million budget and a giant facility and a network of artists and cohesion at its like highest principle.
Well, and that's what I said, and we've talked about that before. It's like, imagine what, like, again, you're one of the most creative people I've ever met.
Thank you.
And as I said, imagine if someone gave you $1 million and said, "Here you go."
I already told you. There's no way I don't just build my own singular Outpost 31.
Yeah.
And hire people to play Among Us with people in an actual facility.
Take my money. I'm there.
There's no amount of money in the world though that I feel like, you give me $1,000 budget, I'll see if I could rent a space and make it work for a weekend. You know, like, there's no world where I don't try my hardest to make that a thing. But it's just like, if I can get Universal to just be like, I want to talk to someone at Universal and just be like, go to MEOW WOLF, go check out Jason Egan's escape rooms.
Yeah.
I want to do a mix of these two things.
Yeah.
It's not one, it's not the other. It's a little bit of both with a little bit of a game. You know, there's no time limit, but it's like there's only so much to get out of the experience.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because Jason Egan showed me that like you don't need actors for everything. You can have animatronics. And it's just like, okay, so if I really want to scare people, I could have like creepy things behind doors that they open and something jumps out at them and then they close the door immediately.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. And then it's like, okay, we have some actors who are dressed as one thing who maybe change as the event goes on.
Sure.
And then they just cycle through that. Make sure give me $1 million and like a solid, I don't know how many rooms I would need. Like 7 or 8 rooms with one long fucking hallway.
Well, I mean, if you're out there listening and you've got a spare $1 million, I know a guy who could use it to just delight people.
There's no world where I actually get to do that, but I will live my dream slowly doing my Airbnbs with my friends. and as I get older and hopefully come into more money, my puzzles might get more ingrained to things you actually see in those movies, so that it feels more like you're sitting at an actual old computer doing the whole Blair like imitation puzzle.
Love that.
You know, we'll get there at some point.
Yeah.
But it's never gonna. I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I will feel financially viable to own and rent a building with Universal's copyright lawyers not breathing down my neck, saying you can or cannot do this. Well, I think there's a higher likelihood that someone gets a space and gets the rights for Among Us and recreates those mini games in an actual physical space and invites people to come in and wear funny colored jumpsuits, you know, to go around and do those puzzles, and then they gamify it, and then there's a game master just kind of leading the entire thing who says, you know, oh, someone pressed their emergency button, we have to all get back to the thing, and, you know, you can't just ignore that. That's like an integral part of that game.
Yeah. That would be fun.
You know, we grew up with like laser tag and paintball. Let's get intellectual with it. Yeah. Let's have the next step in evolution being thematic LARPing.
I love it.
In succinct notes.
I love it.
I mean, I'm here for it, obviously.
Just so you know, if I ever win the lottery that I don't play, I'll float you $1 million.
That's the funny thing about that conversation is, like, I think the second or third time playing it, Where Am I was just like, can I buy the rights?
Yeah, you said that. You told me about that.
Can I buy the rights for this thing you've put together here? And I said it's impossible because I don't own them to begin with.
Right.
I'm basing, even if I were to backpedal and say this isn't based off of Universal's The Thing,
right, and
take the thing I like about it the most out of it, and say it's now just like H.P. Lovecraft's or John Campbell's Who Goes There story, and I'm just kind of winking at the rest to lawfully get by what is now public free use. My heart just wouldn't be in it because that's not where the love is. The love is with John Carpenter's film. The love is with what he was able to do with those characters and with that time and with that setting. You know, it's not enough for me to wink, nod specifically about Mountains of Madness and Who Goes There or Frozen Hell. But it's something to say, like, if I had to go about it to not get Universal involved, it would break my heart a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, there's only one other thing to do then. We round up some guys, we drive out to LA, we find out whoever runs Universal, we kidnap him.
Or even the Horror Nights guy. He lives in Ireland. That's probably easier.
Yeah, there you go.
Go kidnap John Murdy.
Kidnap him.
Let's get John Murdy and Jason Egan in the same room and say, fund me for an Among Us escape room LARP hybrid.
Right.
And see what they say. Jason Egan will probably be on board.
Yeah.
And then Murdy does Horror Nights in Hollywood. He's the director. So he might say, I know some people.
Right.
And then lie to escape the handcuffs that he's in.
God damn it. Then we're on the run. And I can't run.
Yeah, neither can I.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun tangent.
Any other like fun little moments about either Meow Wolf or the escape rooms or anything about Vegas that you want to just anecdotally mention?
My other favorite thing about Vegas has nothing to do with horror or anything like that.
That's fine.
It was teaching you guys how to play craps via those dumb, like, pop a shot, whatever, like pop up, and literally sitting back at one point and just watching all three of you just obsessively playing this game, going, I've created monsters.
You told us how to do it, and we watched you make like $20.
Yeah,
and then we all said, it's that easy. And then we each sat down and progressively lost like 60. And I remember like turning to you and being like, what have you done?
But you'd all be right back there.
How dare you? And then like an hour later, I'm back at the table playing the same thing, and I'm like, hey, I'm up 25 now.
Yeah. That's the fun thing about craps.
And then at one point when you were down, I said, fuck this, and I went and played roulette and made like $125.
I remember that. You went over.
And you were like, fuck you.
Because when I was beginning my loss, and then...
I kept walking back with like more money. I was like, hey, I'm up 50. And then I was like, hey, I'm up 80. And then I was like, hey, I'm up 125.
You did, and I'm like, well, that's great, because I'm down 10, I'm down 20. Shut the fuck up. And then you and the kid went up, and the kid's friend hung out with me as I continued to lose.
And he was drunk.
He was drunk, and he just wouldn't stop talking about his truck. And I
love that you got so
much
mad about that.
But I was like, I'm losing, and I had built up a nice nest egg over the course of the trip that I just pretty much almost gave all of it back that night, and I'm just like, I'm in a bad mood because I'm losing, and I'm like,
this kid won't shut the fuck up.
Kid, I don't give a shit about your fucking truck. And he's just on the truck is great, and the truck, and I'm like, oh good, 7 out again, great, 7 out again. And finally he decided, I'm gonna go to bed, and I was like, yeah, good night.
Fucking on, maybe I won't lose now.
And that didn't matter. It didn't matter. I still lost, but I still ended up for the trips. That was good. That was fun.
We didn't mention the Squid Games, but there was Squid Games VR at the
Sprained my ankle
at the Sandbox VR at Planet Hollywood, and that was actually really fucking fun.
It was, and my only goal, it was not to win. I knew I wasn't going to win. My only goal was to beat the kid, and I did. He was in last place.
And it was his birthday.
And it was his birthday. And that's what you
loser.
fucking get. Talk shit to me. And the other thing...
I smacked you guys in Twilight Zone mini golf, too.
I was just going to bring up Twilight Zone mini golf. That was a thing that we didn't... That you were the only one who wanted to do initially. And they were all like, oh, great. And I thought it was like... It's just a little indoor thing, but with the black lights and like the little like tokens from different episodes, and then they had episodes playing in the background. I was just like, I'm really glad we did this. It's actually pretty freaking cool.
That place is a vibe.
It is a vibe, for sure.
And I know Alley Cat's gonna fucking love that. She was mad at me about that one, too. She was like, you're gonna go to the mini golf place?
Yeah. It had a very...
Why not?
Yeah. It had a very retro, very... It was very cool.
It was just really nice mini golf. Like, you see these pop-up blacklight monster mini golf places in any, like, torn-down mall nowadays. It was very much that, but they had the budget to make it Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is that they had all of this memorabilia, statues, like, things, like, actually in the middle of the shots, in the middle of the lanes and stuff. And it's just funny, because, like, as we started... Like, I feel like everyone was taking it so seriously. And then once you realized you were, like, 10 strokes behind me, about, like, a quarter of the way through the game,
so angry.
all of you guys gave up.
I was so bad.
The kid arguably never tried.
No, he never tries. I don't like playing mini golf with him.
And still managed to get a hole-in-one.
Hey, he did. Point. That's why I don't like to play mini golf with him, because he makes me so mad because he doesn't try. And I'm like, at least try. But I was so mad because I was really trying. And I think I was in last. Didn't I finish in last?
No.
No.
There's no way you lost to the kid.
That's right, I beat the kid. Again. But I was just like, every time Captain Death would I
think I was like a part two or part
Yeah,
three.
you were 2 on almost everything. And I'm like, God damn, and then I would feel the pressure of...
Sacrifice was like a 3 or a 4 most times. You were a 3 or a 4 most times. A couple 5s in there for both of you. And then the kid was mostly bogeys.
But here's my point. It's Twilight Zone mini golf.
Yeah.
And you'd be in 2, and it would get in my head. It's Twilight Zone. Why am I taking this so goddamn seriously?
Oh, yeah.
I'm an asshole. That's why.
No, I mean, I was just trying to play a game.
Everyone else is just having fun, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm just trying to win.
So competitive.
Stupid. I'm such an asshole. But yeah, it was fun.
That's why I appreciated you on my team for the escape rooms, because sometimes you need to body someone out of the puzzle to get some stuff done.
I should have done it. Just bumped him right back. Motherfucker.
All right.
I
don't want to, like, not read anything this episode. I'm tempted because we're at a good time, but
yeah.
This definitely isn't going to be our longest episode, and I'm thankful that our stories are shorter.
Okay.
But I do think we should read.
All right, I'm down.
And they're shorter stories. I think the point of having you on the second episode wasn't just to talk an abnormal amount of time about Halloween ends because you made me.
You're welcome.
I'm keeping it. But it was to dip your toe into what this show began as, because we are this month, as time of recording, crossing our 8-year anniversary. And the show has changed so much over the course of those 8 years. Because for a while there, it was just a joke. And then a while there, I actually cared. And there was a while there where I really didn't. And then, we've kind of fluctuated between experimental concepts and ideas and things I want to continue to do and things I will absolutely never repeat. And I'm at this point where, with it winding down, quote unquote, I want to make sure everyone remembers what this started as.
Yeah.
And it started as just a podcast where we were reading creepypasta.
Yeah.
And if you are not someone who has actually in their life gone out of their way to go to the creepypasta website and read something, I want to bring that experience to you, because you might not have... I'm not going to say that creepypasta or NoSleep has an age limit or a factor, because I feel like online fiction will never have a limit.
Yeah, nor should it.
But I just think with our difference in age, not being ageist about anything, just you had to be on Reddit as like a teenager to really get hit by the online campfire quality of it. And like, I was like 12 when Slender Man was like a thing at like his height as like an actual tulpa where people were like actually scared of this thing. And it's just like, you don't get that outside of creepypasta.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a real thing outside of that has struck the same chord. And it's just like, if I ask you point blank, have you ever read like a NoSleep or a creepypasta online before? Like, what's your answer?
No. The only thing I've ever read online, and it was after all this and me starting to listen to this, was I think it was not Hot But Spicy. It was a 50-Foot Ant, whatever that song.
50-Foot Ant, yeah.
50-Foot Ant. I read that.
50-Foot Ant is fucking awesome.
I enjoy the hell out of that.
It's fucking great.
So my introduction to this was through podcasts, was through the NoSleep podcast, was through Creepy.
Oh, so you fell onto the accessibility of listening to someone
listening
read you
to it,
something.
yeah, as opposed to
us.
reading it, yeah. But that's my experience with creepypastas and things like that. Is those podcasts.
Vaguely interested in hearing it, not dedicated to like staying up at night and reading it yourself.
Correct. Which
Fair
is
enough.
odd, because I love to read.
You do.
I'm a reader.
One of the reasons I had you on is because I know you're an avid Stephen King fan, which
Yeah.
explains your first episode.
But yeah, just for my entrance into this world, this realm, is all via podcast.
Okay. Well, I think it's about time we dip our toe into creepypasta. I'm going to read a creepypasta first, because one of our listeners and Patreon subscribers sent me this story and told me to read it, and I would feel dumb if I never did. Because he said it was right up my alley, and for various reasons. So I'm going to take him at his word, which for a random person online doesn't mean I'm going to carry that much weight for you, bud. But as someone who has given us your hard-earned cash because you like us that much, yeah, maybe I'll listen to you a little bit more. This one's a shout-out to TrevorTheWereFishy. He is one of our Patreon subscribers and listeners of the show. And I am going to read a story that he submitted called The Antiguan Giant. And this is apparently from Creepypasta. And it doesn't look like there's dialogue, so I'm just going to steamroll through this. And
do it, my man.
You either tune in and give me some reactions, or tune out and go fuck yourself. Alright. I used to go diving a lot. Not so much anymore, but a couple years ago I was really into it. I had my license and everything. I see why you sent this to me. Because I did go diving a lot. It's like I read this. It's like I wrote this story myself. It's really beautiful down there. The pale, patterned sand, the water washing away the distance like a blue mist, flashes of the brightest colors you've ever seen of some fish that dart into view. I've done my share of exploring wrecks and grottos, but my favorite thing to do is to hover right there where the shelf plunges into the deep. You get the greatest dynamics there as deep-sea creatures come up to feed. Anyway, one time I was drifting along near Antigua, about 40 feet down. That's in the Caribbean for the uncultured and swine-like. I had 2 tanks with me so I could stay down for several hours. The shelf sloped off to my left and rocks and coral broke the monotony of the sand to my right. I hadn't seen much that day and was getting a bit bored, but I noticed a large octopus. It was a deep-sea type, probably washed up accidentally. They don't usually come up that far to hunt. It seemed sluggish. It didn't react much when I drifted over to it. Now, octopi aren't very friendly creatures. If you manage to get near one, they usually flee within seconds. I'm sure you've seen videos of them changing colors to match their environment. Well, not all species can do that, but they're all very good at hiding. So seeing a deep-sea octopus up close was quite an opportunity. It was about a foot from crown to beak and dark mottled green. Its tentacles curled around it, perhaps 4 feet long when extended, and pale on the underside. Its eyes looked like golden rings around narrowed black pupils. It was having trouble moving, and it looked half dead. I decided to try to get near it, and there were some yellowtail jacks nearby, and I speared one with my knife. I'm sorry if that offends you. I'm not one of the touch-nothing divers. Cautiously, I approached the octopi and offered it my fish, shoving it out ahead of me and letting it drift toward the creature. Success. It didn't run, but it lazily reached an arm out to capture the morsel, and it brought it under to its beak and began to devour it, and I drifted closer, trying to acclimate it to my presence. Over maybe half an hour or so, it became more lively and used to my presence, and apparently I brought it some tolerance with my offering, and it even began to play a little bit, darting away from me and then back. I had a stick with me that I used to test holes and mud and such, and it occurred to me that maybe I should teach it to play fetch. And I brought the stick out and waved it until it seemed like it had its attention, and then I threw the stick out sideways. It didn't go very far underwater, of course, but the octopus went after it, grabbed it, held it with its tentacles. It didn't seem inclined to return it to me, though, so I swam closer, and it was waving the stick at me, and then it tossed it out to the side. It was copying me. I retrieved the stick, and then an interesting idea came into my head. Next to us was a large flat rock covered in half an inch of mud and detritus. Careful not to disturb the layers, I took the stick and slowly drew a crude figure of a man. Stick figure, 2 legs, 2 arms, and a round head coming off of a central cylinder. And the octopus seemed to be watching with interest. And I tossed it the stick, and it caught it easily. And it sat there toying with it, and for a few moments I thought my expectations had been too high, but then it reached out with the stick and began tracing its own mark in the mud. It was even cruder than mine, to be sure, but it was clearly a drawing. However, the proportions were all wrong. It fused the head and the body in one ball, and there were too many legs. Well, obviously it drew itself.
It drew itself.
You fucking idiot.
You dumbass.
I was just happy it was copying me. I'd heard octopuses were smart, but this was something else. And then it hit me like a freezing wave. The octopus wasn't copying my drawing, it was drawing itself. The implications for this were huge. If I had had a video camera then, I would be a famous man today. The only other animal I've seen that's aware, or capable of imagination and self-awareness to do something like that is an ape, and it's a cousin to the humans. That an ancient octopus, without so much as a spinal column, had the mental capacity for such a feat would surely have turned biology on its head. However, I didn't have a camera, and the scientists I've told my story to greet it with understandable skepticism. I would put all my time into trying to prove it myself, but I just can't bring myself to go diving anymore. Anyway, once the realization struck, I got excited. The octopus passed the stick back, and I began drawing other sea creatures and common sights, and we kept on for maybe an hour, and the octopus contributed as much as I did. It even drew something I took to be a crude figure of a submarine with a con tower, a propeller screw, and torpedo holes. And finally, the octopus led me over to the other side of the rock. It was a blank canvas. And far down in the corner, it drew itself and then me. And these figures were very small, maybe an inch or 2 tall. And then painstakingly, it went to work on a larger drawing. At first I thought it was a whale, but whales are roughly the size of submarines, so it didn't seem to justify the scale. Furthermore, the proportions were all wrong. This seemed like something more humped, compact, almost as if it were upright rather than aquatic. And it had weird bits sticking out of it that didn't seem like fins. I couldn't place it. An oil platform, maybe. No, the lines were too natural. And an octopus wouldn't know what the top of a platform would look like. When the drawing was done, we both sat and looked at it for a while, and I took the stick back from the octopus and I circled the drawing of us and then drew a line to the thing, and I'm not sure if the octopus picked up on my confusion because it just sort of sat there for a while. It didn't try to take the stick back, but then it started swimming away, and I followed it at a distance. It seemed to be keeping a pace, leading me on, and then it turned and shot into the deep area off the shelf. I was a good way through my second tank, and I wasn't supposed to go any deeper, so I had to let it go. It stopped once to watch me and then darted off, dissolving into the dark blue depths. I looked after it for a few minutes to see if it would return, but there was nothing, so I started watching the other fish and making my way slowly back to the boat. Then, suddenly, there was a low thrumming sound all around me. It wasn't very loud, but it was big, as if it came from the ocean floor itself. I've heard of underwater eruptions, but I've never been in one, and I wondered if I was about to be. But this didn't sound like anything natural. It sounded like the call of an animal, and it slowed down to a virtually subsonic range and projected from huge speakers very, very far away. I've had a chance to look over the seismograph recordings for that day, and nothing shows up at that time or that frequency. I have no idea why. The fish were going crazy. They were darting back and forth and all heading inland, and not just the reef fish, the larger ones from deeper in were streaming by me faster. Suddenly among them the octopus appeared again, or one quite like it. It swam up to me and eyed me strangely, and then darted past with the rest, and the thrumming sounded again. Looking out to sea, I gradually became aware of a large dark patch, and it was very hard to tell how big or far away it was, but there was plenty of both to go around, and it was hard to tell more than just a shadow in the murky water, but it clearly wasn't a whale or anything man-made. I couldn't even tell if it was a single creature. There seemed to be long strands like kelp or tentacles streaming off of it, but immeasurably larger. It looked like nothing so much as an ancient misshapen section of coral reef broke off and started floating. At least the part I could see. It seemed to fade off into the distance, as though that mass, immense as it may be, was only a limb to some far larger entity. I've never seen a naval carrier underwater, but I imagine that's the kind of shadow it would cast. The thrumming rang out a third time, and an unreasoning fear seized me. I didn't appear to be in danger, though the thing was vaster than anything I'd ever seen. It was too far away to reach me quickly, and it seemed like it wouldn't fit into the shallows anyway. Nevertheless, I was gripped by the feeling that if I didn't get away as fast as I could, I would be dragged down into the abyss and consumed. I could feel the very water itself drawing me down into that black maw, heedless of the depth or my equipment. I surged upwards, and as I rose, of course, I began cramping, but I clawed my way up. I was still far from the boat when I broke the surface, and I could barely move. I had to keep my mouthpiece in because I couldn't keep my mouth above water. I certainly couldn't call or signal for help. Far from receding, my panic was worse than ever. From above the water, I couldn't see the thing or tell whether it was coming for me. I thrashed my slow, painful way toward the boat, and finally someone on board noticed me, and they came to pick me up. I had the bends, pretty bad, and had to stay in a hospital for a few weeks until I was over it. The bends is when you don't equalize every 15 feet. The pressure of rising out of the ocean too fast.
I've heard they're agonizing.
It's pretty bad. I've had a headache that lasted 2 days before. But I learned pretty young and pretty quickly to take my time with that type of thing. The doctors told me I was lucky to not have a stroke or have permanent damage. But that's my story. I'm sorry I can't give a more satisfying conclusion. I don't know myself what I experienced, but my friends think it was some form of rapture, but it just doesn't match the symptoms. Narcosis is supposed to reduce anxiety, not stimulate it, and my hallucinations, if that's what they were too vivid and specific. Anyway, since then I've been afraid of the water. I tried going out once or twice, but all I can do is stay shaking in the boat. I think there really was something out there, and I don't think it's something I ever want to come across again.
That was
very cool.
Very cool. It was very
Before I finished your sentence for you, what were you going to say?
got a very, like, almost a Lovecraftian feel out of the creature from the deep.
Oh yeah. Gotta love the subtle racism. That's a joke because he would like literally call black people animals or apes or something.
Yeah, he wasn't a great dude.
He wasn't a great dude,
but he was a great writer.
Good storyteller.
No, I really dug that. That was a very. I was like, you had said if you can listen to me or you can like fuck off or whatever. And I initially had picked up my phone and I just put that shit down and just sat here listening. First of all, you read it beautifully, but secondly, just like the story itself, I just thought it was really well written.
I think it's episode 30 something where we do Confessions of a Deep Sea Diver. Those stories stuck with me for a while because I was still diving at the time of reading those. I haven't dived in 3 or 4 years now. It's something I miss. It's something I love. There's just such a peacefulness that comes to floating out there. And I never, I've been down 70 some feet where, you're just as distance from the top as you are from the bottom to this, to the idea of like, well, if I don't follow my bubbles, I might totally vertigo this shit.
Right.
But I just love the otherworldly feeling of down there and the way it just feels like an alien fucking planet, and there's just some weird shit down there, and that beginning like paragraph where he's like, I've done sunken ships before, I've seen some weird shit, like, yeah, I've done night dives, I've done 2 tank dives, I've done I've cataloged 100 hours down in different places around the Caribbean. I don't think I'll ever get sick of it, but I do think that like there are places I won't dive.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost firm that I never want to go to Australia. Mm-hmm. I'm almost firm on that. It would be really hard to go to Australia and not do the barrier reef.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm doing it alone because my partner has no fucking interest in diving. Actually is afraid of the ocean to several degrees. And it's just like, well, I'm not going out on a boat with a bunch of assholes and then going to get eaten by some fucking shark and no one I love be around me to deal with that. So, no thanks. The Caribbean I can respect because you are, for lack of a better term, in contained environments. I know it's the ocean, but like these are dives people do every day. These are stations that they've almost set up themselves, tours they've set up themselves. You are very much just a passenger. You do your job to drive your body through those experiences. They will take care of the rest. Yeah. And while animals are unpredictable, there's no fish you have to worry about like a shark.
Right.
Jellyfish are nowhere near you on dives. They're nowhere at those depths. You don't have to worry about, barracuda. They travel in mostly in packs, and they only take down animals they know they can take.
Right.
And just don't touch anything. I know this guy says he touches shit. I just, you keep your hand. You genuinely keep your hands to yourself. It's the idea that, this is an environment that has existed, an ecosystem that has existed so long without the impact of man. It needs to continue that way.
100%.
But yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed reading that.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't dive, never have. I've snorkeled. Ooh.
Snorkeling is an aspect.
The thought of being under that much water just absolutely cripplingly terrifies me.
Terrifies you?
It just terrifies me. So I can imagine I'm sitting there as you're reading that, thinking about being there already. I would already be terrified, and then this behemoth from the depths comes rising up. No, thank you. No. Because I would just die right there. My heart would just explode.
You'd give up. Oh, your heart would explode.
Yeah, I just pull the tube and I'm done. Let's go. Let's do this.
It doesn't look like there's dialogue in this one either, so I'm just going to let you take this and I'll listen along.
All right, man.
I'm going to let Royale read a story tonight, and I read the creepypasta, so he's going to read the NoSleep, and we'll see which one comes out better. But he's going to read a story I've had, obviously, by the name on the top for a very long time. The story is called Budget Cinema from Reddit NoSleep.
I'm a horror junkie through and through.
Okay, this was a good story for you.
It's good. While most of my friends gravitate towards genres of film, I'm firmly in favor of terrifying movies. Horror is the perfect genre. The good is good, and the bad is, well, good in my opinion.
Yeah.
From Argento to Ty West, I've seen it all and made my opinion known online. I frequent horror sites as well as a peruser, horror always looking for the new thrill. What I have discovered in light of the events that I'm about to unfold, my thirst for the macabre begins and ends with celluloid. It all began with an email I received last Tuesday. My inbox is full of offers and spam from various horror sites that I've registered to. However, something about this email stood out. It was so effectively creepy and off the wall that it immediately piqued my interest. I have posted it below for reference. Dear user, you're is welcome to come to 2486 Durlact Lane. I, director, that's with a K, of Vain Death will screen me new movie and be a question answers. Features are meaning. Life is propagation of blood. Blood is best. Blood is good, and blood is all. Life force and want subjugate themselves to willpower and the letting.
I hope this isn't a troll pasta. I really hope.
Next Thursday at midnight. Sincere, Petru Beklia. This email blew my mind on many accounts. Right off the bat, I knew that address. That cinema had shut down years ago. When I was a child, it was a budget cinema for my area. It used to play movies.
There's a couple of those around here, yeah.
We did, yeah. It used to play movies that had left theaters but had not quite made it onto VHS yet. But also, it would frequently have festivals, namely horror festivals, would screen there when I was too young to secure a ticket. Also, the awful grammar and bizarre nature of the email made me excited that I was going to see something new and different. Given the name of the director, which I googled to no avail, I was expecting some warped Eastern European shit, a la a Serbian film.
Yeah, no, that's actually a Serbian film is actually immediately where my mind went.
Yeah.
But as a joke on the dude's name, it's probably some shitty anagram like the Tom Marvolo riddle from Harry Potter, except like when you rearrange it, it just says like "I love piss" or something like that. I love drink piss.
I love piss. I talked to all of my friends and none were interested. Forwarding the email to
Get
many
new
of them.
friends.
Yeah, exactly. Your friends suck, bro. Forwarding the email to many of them had the opposite effect that I had intended.
Fair enough, actually.
Yeah. They pointed out how weird the whole thing was and that theater had shut down years ago. Also, they mentioned how there was no trace of this guy anywhere on the internet. Despite their protests, I was too intrigued to not go, which, in retrospect, was the worst decision of my life.
Good to hear.
I drove to the theater 2 days ago by myself, arriving promptly at 11:50. I immediately began to regret my decision. The theater was in a very secluded area of town. It was a small oasis of concrete in the middle of a heavily forested area. As I pulled up to the theater, I was immediately alarmed by the lack of vehicles in the lot. I was literally the only car pulling into the parking lot. As I exited my vehicle, I surveyed the entrance to the theater. It seemed abandoned. It was pitch black inside. It was abundantly clear that it hadn't been maintained in years.
Is he going to star in this film?
I think he is.
Is he going to be the subjected to torture victim?
I believe that's where this is going.
Snuff film.
Snuff
the
film.
making.
Yeah. This all added to the creepy ambiance I was hoping for the evening, but something about this really screamed foul. I turned to return to my car. That was when the lights turned on in the cinema. I decided to go through with it. My curious nature was getting the better of me as I strolled up the seemingly neglected building. I was almost surprised that the door gave way, emitting an ominous creak as it provided me entrance. I entered to find the box office abandoned. Confusion began to set in until I saw that the marquee on Theater 1 was illuminated. Letters were arranged above the theater to indicate that Vain Death was indeed screening in there.
What's he expect? Fucking popcorn? Fucking milk duds? Snow caps?
I was hoping to buy some popcorn, having not eaten anything.
Off.
But there was nothing but cobwebs manning the concession stand. Nice job.
I had no idea that was coming. I handed him an iPad. He's reading off an iPad. I'm sitting across from him. I'm not actually following along. I'm just here to listen. That I could not have timed that better, even if I was watching.
Perfect.
God damn it.
I convinced myself that the abandoned cinema look was all a part of the ambiance that the theater was trying to
rookie
establish.
mistake. You always show up with a pocket full of candy.
Right, you have something.
You
right?
have
You don't go empty. I know.
No one wants to spend $17 on a box of chocolate.
No, I already spend $1 billion on the popcorn and the soda.
Exactly.
The candy comes with me.
Yeah, almost always.
I convinced myself that the abandoned cinema look was all a part of the ambiance that the theater was trying to establish for this screening. Yeah, you're wrong.
It's actually abandoned.
I entered theater 1.
When is a horse not a horse?
When it's a cow.
It's a rhetorical question.
Oh, you didn't want an answer? I thought I had.
No, it's fair. I like the answer.
Okay. All right. I entered theater 1. Inside, I saw it was empty and sparsely lit. I took a seat in the back and marveled again at the lack of maintenance therein.
Is anyone else there?
No, he said so far he's the only car there.
Then leave.
Yeah, right? I don't go in. I look in and what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to movie tavern.
You have not run into a single person yet.
Right.
All signs point to bail.
Right. I hover outside. Maybe I hover outside till another
This
car.
This is one of those horror stories where like this person deserves to die.
Yeah, so far. But doesn't seem to be dead unless he's riding as a ghost. This place could really use a renovation, I considered. Then I surmised that this place must exclusively exist to screen obscure horror films, and the mood was definitely set by its current condition. I looked around the dark theater to realize I was the only one seated in the auditorium. Then the film began. Did you write this? Because you're like ahead of every step.
I wish. You think I would write something this contrived?
No. The addition of the faint light emanating from the screen informed me that I wasn't alone. A man in a black suit entered the auditorium and took a seat in the front row.
Hello, I am director.
I assumed this was the director, and actually pitied him, since only one person had attended the screening of his film that he must have worked so hard on. Not that I was expecting previews or a cavalcade of production companies to begin the film, but my thoughts scattered as the movie started almost immediately after a brief countdown.
I was a little surprised when the only preview that showed before his movie was Shark Boy and Lava Girl, directed by Robert Rodriguez. Now that's a scary movie.
That is a scary movie. The movie began with a stationary shot and no setup whatsoever. It was of a camera sitting in the corner of a bedroom, pointed toward a man and a woman having a conversation. My immediate thought was that the sound quality on this movie was abysmal. This is an understatement. I had to focus as hard as I could to make out what was being said. To say I understood a quarter of the words spoken is being generous. Also, the film quality was extremely subpar, and the positioning of the camera was way too far away from the action, in quotations, action, as well as out of focus. It was jarring, to say the least, to see such shoddy filmmaking, but I gave the director the benefit of the doubt. This could be the mood he was trying to invoke, a grainy, poorly mixed film.
It's the director of Skinamarink. The most mumblecore movie you will ever see. What's that? Can't hear.
I don't know.
Subtitles won't help either. The subtitles just read parentheses, mumble.
Great.
They don't. That's a joke, but still.
Alright. The conversation between the man and the woman, at first I could barely glean their gender by their voices combined with the grainy and out-of-focus images on the screen, went on and on. Due to the poor quality of the sound, I could barely understand what was being said. The woman seemed to be sufficiently scared from what I could gather. She mentioned ropes, which cued me into the fact that she may be tied to the chair. About 5 minutes in, I could hear a baby crying. I noticed that there was what could be a part of a crib in the opposite corner of the room. As boredom began to set in, I noticed that the figure in black had moved a couple of rows backwards in the theater. It was too dark to be sure, but I was convinced he was staring at me intensely. The conversation continued with the camera remaining stationary. The few words I could make out were actress, movie, amateur, and blood. Lots of mentions of blood was the only thing I could be 100% on. Then the man in the film picked up the camera and moved it closer. As he set it down, he brought it into focus. Things began to become more clear, visually and orally. If anything, now the sound was too loud. The woman was in absolute hysterics, and the baby's screaming screeched through the speakers. The man's voice was clearly foreign, with a heavy Eastern European accent. The shot now just contained the woman as she sat next to the crib, now clearly occupied by a baby. At first I thought, wow, what a great actress, but looking into her eyes, the horror of the situation truly began to dawn on me. This was not acting. At the same time, I couldn't help but notice that the other denizen of the theater was now sitting 2 rows in front of me, his eyes intently staring at me as the action unfolded on screen.
I fucking hate that.
Yeah, no, fuck that. That's why I didn't go in the first place.
So let me pause for a second.
Sure.
As this movie is going on, you are either not seeing this guy get up and move closer to you as you're trying to watch this thing, or as it's going from scene to scene, this guy is mystically getting closer to you.
Supernaturally.
And you don't immediately go, nah, and just fucking bail. Again, bail.
Nah, fam. Yeah,
I
this
hit
guy's
the bail button the minute he got fucking 2 rows back from the front.
Yeah.
Let alone 2 rows away from me.
This guy's clearly the dumbest man alive.
Ugh.
The woman began to plead for her baby's life. She repeated that she never signed up for this. She screamed that she was not an actress. The man took the seat next to her. As her cries began to sink in, the veracity of her emotional pleas chilled me to the bone. The man reached into his pocket and grabbed a razor. In one swift movement, he sliced the woman's throat. Blood began to pour profusely from the woman's neck. The man reached in and began to lick the blood gushing from the gaping wound in her neck as he erotically rubbed it all over his now naked person. He stood over her fading body and began to aggressively punch her in the face as the camera couldn't help but capture the man's now bloody and erect penis.
Oh, great.
Fantastic.
Thanks for reading this.
I'm glad
I'm gonna go.
You're welcome. At least it's not a 3D film. The horror I was experiencing was indescribable, but reached unimaginable heights by what I witnessed next. The man, naked and covered in blood from head to toe, from the now clearly deceased woman, grabbed the baby from the crib.
Oh, no.
He held it longingly and gazed into its perfectly innocent eyes, and kissed it on the forehead. In one fell swoop, the man grabbed the infant by its legs and swung it around while moving off camera. Until my dying day, I will be thankful I did not see that baby's head make contact with the brick wall. But the sound is indelible and will remain with me forever. It was the unmistakable pop and crackle of a bone breaking, followed by a slight hissing noise, which I could only assume was pressure, allowing the brain to exit its formerly sound sanctuary.
Nope.
The horror of all this had kept me glued to my seat. My unwavering eyes stared at the massacre playing out on screen. As I finally brought my gaze down to see where the other man in the theater was, he was nowhere to be found.
Because now he's either next to you or behind you.
I couldn't help but look back up towards the screen to see the man covered in blood and brain matter approaching the camera with unblinking eyes. His gaze was incredibly blank, but had the unmistakable taint of insanity and indifference. Evil. That is when I felt the breath on the nape of my neck. I turned around to see the man in the theater was the same person on the screen. Wordlessly, he stared at me with those same depraved eyes, his eyes alive and wanton. He reached over the seat and began to place something in my pocket. I was literally frozen in place, too frightened to move or react. Beholden to my fear, I accepted whatever he placed in my pocket. He quickly exited the theater, and I was left alone.
It was an autograph. The man was semi-retired comedian Michael Myers. or it'd be better if it was like Jim Carrey.
It would be just staring into his eyes as he...
The piece of paper said, "I can't wait for you to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
It said, "Alrighty then."
Alrighty then.
As the movie remained in the same stationary shot, as the murderer had seemingly left the scene, I decided I was going to get the fuck out of there.
Now is the time.
I made a beeline from the lobby, out the entrance, and into my car. I didn't have the courage to read the note the director had put in my pocket until I got home. It reads, I am happy you enjoy my film. This is a bad accent.
I appreciate it.
Shooting of my next feature, Vain Death 2, begin at 8 p.m. Saturday. For a movie to be real, I appreciate having amateur actors and look forward to working with you. Blood is good. Blood is God. It is 7:54 right now.
That creeped me out.
That was not creepy.
That
story.
creeped me out.
Oh, don't kill babies, man. I can't
I mean,
even with that. I mean, none of that was good, but
Don't kill babies, but also, like, creep me out.
it was effective. It was effective.
Effective for sure.
Oh boy. Yeah, get a little goosey bump on no lie at the 7:54 thing. Next movie's at 8 o'clock. 7:54. Got me. Definitely got me.
That movie's gonna be boring though, because he doesn't have a baby.
Yeah, there's no baby, so it's like anticlimactic.
and like the killer has a line. You know, the dude owns a dog, so it's like he walks and he sees the dog. He says, "Cannot film here. I am not animal. I do not kill dog.
I don't kill dog.
In
I kill
horror
baby.
film, I go home. We film sequel later."
This fucking dog out of here.
Which one did you like more?
Oh God. From a pure prose standpoint, the Antiguan Giant was I thought really beautifully written. Like I thought it was really well written.
It's funny because if I didn't know where they were from, I would have swapped them.
Right.
Creepypasta is usually the more cliched, the more hapdash,
Right.
the more stereotypical, the more horror movie.
Yeah.
And NoSleep is usually the more anecdotal. This kind of happened
Right.
to me, kind of real, kind of not. I mean, both of them ride that line, but one of them is
sure.
definitely more, I am Creepypasta man, writing story, come to theater, film blood,
Yeah.
good.
So I think from that, as a piece of quote unquote literature, the Antiguan Giant was a better story. But I'll be damned if
there weren't parts of budget cinema that were good.
effective. Yeah, it was effective. I wouldn't go so far to say it's like a great story or anything.
No,
like that,
but
it
they
was
do
effective.
some interesting things that are funny, that are stereotypes
Yeah.
for a reason. But I definitely don't like the idea of a killer with unblinking eyes.
Yeah.
Just kind of always staring at you like manically. Getting to see like everything that is in those eyes is what makes a performance kind of scary sometimes. Like that's what makes Perkins and Psycho really great. That would make Hopkins so great in Silence of the Lambs. You know, when you get a really good sequence like that, it can be really unnerving.
Yeah.
Part of the sitting in the theater put me in a mix of Donnie Darko and Stir of Echoes.
Yeah.
And both of those scenes in the kind of dream movie theaters always put me on edge.
Yeah.
So the idea of being alone in a theater and this dude just keeps getting closer to you.
No,
I don't like that.
No, I don't like that at all.
I mean, I'm not even in there personally, but I also don't sit for that.
No. That's that part.
So
it was effective.
So I think we agree that Antiguan Giant is a better story overall, but there were some effective fucking moments in budget cinema.
100%.
All right. Well, this is a long episode, but you deserved a long one after the little bit that you had before. I feel like your previous one was just as long too, because we read a lot of Stephen King. So.
We did read a lot of Stephen King, and we know how wordy that son of a bitch is.
He really is. He made an entire career out of it. Son of a gun.
Son of a gun.
But yeah, I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time.
I do have you scheduled for a little bit more. I'll let you know when those are coming up. But
thank you.
We have some mystery stuff still to be revealed that I'm excited for you to be a part of, and some other stuff that we'll talk about as it comes. But
yeah, man.
Thank you to Royale with cheese for joining me on this adventure tonight, and for talking, just for talking for 2 hours, because that was fun.
That was
going over everything spooky that we did right at the beginning of October. You got to christen your spooky kid the right way. And he gets it from his spooky dad. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Captain.
Any final messages? Anything you'd like to leave the audience with tonight on this episode?
Yeah, just leave the babies alone, man. It's not necessary.
Draw a line at babies.
Yeah,
It's not the first baby killer story I've read.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
You are aware. Okay.
Don't let the but let's just like it was good. You didn't need to kill the baby. It was effective, but I'm good. Otherwise, get your ass to Vegas.
Yes.
Check those rooms out. Check out Meow Wolf. You'll have a great time.
Give all of them your money, because let's be honest, if you're going to Vegas, you're going to lose it anyway.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Have fun doing it.
Do the right thing and spend it on entertainment, because at least when you come out the other side, you're going to say that was worth it.
Correct. That's it for me.
Okay. Well, as always, I'm going to end this episode by saying, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
And I hope you liked listening to two fuckers talk for 2 hours, and some little stories right there at the end. Hopefully you didn't just skip to hour 2 and listen to the stories and say, why do these idiots talk so much? Because if you're on episode 284 and you're still saying that to yourself, you might as well unsubscribe and kill yourself.
Yeah, fuck you.